Crawford, Adam the Bull, Garrett Bush, Dustin Fox, Jason Lloyd, Tyvis Powell, plus, ba-da-da-da-da, you're loving him, Mikey McNuggets. And so many big names, it would take me hours to say all of their names. The ultimate Cleveland sports show starts now. Booyah!
Man, if only we had something to talk about.
Man!
What are we going to talk about for the next 6 months?
It was
Draft grades. Let's do a draft grade. The stupidest thing on the face of the earth.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
We left here Thursday night, and Mike was so despondent.
Why?
Because, content, right? Like, they took a defensive tackle. And then at the last minute,
The content gods open the sky.
They gave us what we wanted.
Lord, baby Jesus reached down from heaven.
Can I be selfish for a second? I care less about content than I do about wins.
I hear you.
Yeah.
Content's cool.
I hear
The
you.
Browns were like, you thought we were going to go a year without controversy?
Yeah.
There you go.
No drama, no chance.
Number one in the
All
game.
right, Mike.
Listen, I like when they're good, and I like when they're good and we have something to talk about. But if they're not going to be good, make sure we have something.
At least be entertaining.
Today's show, guys, is brought to us by Living
got
for
that.
We. Living for We is an award-winning podcast from IdeaStream Public Media, part of the Connecting the Dots initiative between race and health. New episodes drop every other Tuesday. Listen to Living for We wherever you get your podcasts.
Woo! Thank you, Browns. I mean, from the content standpoint,
Yeah,
we need 4 hours today, don't we?
probably.
I think we would, to do it, everything just, because we'd have to do the Guardians, the Cavs are motorboating everybody so far.
Yeah, motorboat son of a bitch.
And we're not. We're going to talk about the Cavs, but the Guardians won't be in the main portion of our show. They will be in overtime, which, because it's our only Guardians talk today, it's going to be open and free to the public, right,
We're going
Mike?
to make it a public overtime.
Smart move.
So we're
Smart
going to end
move.
the show at 1 and at 1:05.
Could we not do 4 hours, though?
Oh, we could do 12 hours today.
I think we could.
We could do 12 hours,
Yeah.
without a doubt. It is by far the most jam-packed show, and if you guys are cool with it, let's just forego the niceties to start a show. Let's dive right
No
in.
niceties.
do it, man.
No
Let's
time
dive
for
in.
niceties.
Perfect. All right, our first topic of the show
Yeah.
is brought to us by FanDuel. The NBA playoffs are here, guys. FanDuel is giving new customers an incredible way to get in on the action. Right now, when you join FanDuel and place your first $5 bet, you'll get $250 in bonus bets if that first $5 bet wins. Don't miss out. Head over to FanDuel.com to claim your $250 in bonus bets today. So in case you missed it, in case anyone was living under a rock, let me recap real quick the Browns' 2025 NFL Draft rookie class. With the 5th pick in the draft, they took Mason Graham. They took Carson Schwesinger, the linebacker from UCLA, with the 1st pick of the 2nd round. Quinshon Judkins, the running back from Ohio State, went 4 picks later at 36. Fannin Jr., the local kid, the tight end from Bowling Green, went at number 67. They took quarterback Dillon Gabriel from Oregon to end the 3rd round with pick number 94. They took Dylan Sampson, the Tennessee running back, at 126. And then the big one, the Shedeur Sanders pick, the final selection the Browns
big
made
one.
in the 2025 draft class, was selected after the Browns traded up to that pick and taken at 144. So, Bull, I know you hate draft grades.
Yeah.
We are going to start real quick, shotgun reaction style.
Yeah.
Your overall, quick thoughts on the Browns draft, and because you hate grades, give me a grade to wrap it up.
And by the way, 33 36 is, I know you hate math, Mike, but that's 3, not 4.
Well, you got 33, 34, 35, and then 36.
No, 33, and then 3 picks later is 36.
Tomato.
Wait, what did he say?
He said 4 picks later.
Oh, yeah, no, it is 3 picks
I
later.
got to
3
take
picks
a chance
later,
to
right,
bust
my
his balls when I can.
Very good.
All right, so I do hate draft grades, right? The reality is that us and everybody else in this business spends time giving draft grades today.
Yeah.
And then when the grade should really happen are 2, maybe 3 years from now, and nobody ever does that or rarely does that. But that's the exercise, so I'm going to play along, and I will give the Browns a B. I still don't love what they did in the 1st round. I understand why they did it, but once you traded down, you got a haul in terms of picks. We'll see if it turns into an actual real haul of players, but you got a haul in terms of picks, so I understand it. I didn't love taking a defensive tackle at 5, and I don't understand taking 2 quarterbacks when you supposedly traded down to get a quarterback next year. But I like everything else they did. I would have rather them taken somebody else in the 1st round, but Mason Graham is still a good pick. I'm not saying it's a bad pick. I think they could have had a better pick. I love taking Judkins. I love taking Fannin. I didn't know much about Schwesinger going in, but after reading about him all weekend, everything I read, even though it's he's an off-ball linebacker, people are going to make did you take an off-ball linebacker too high? Seems like a great player, great leader, great the guy was undrafted. I mean, sorry,
no, he's a walk-on.
He was unrecruited.
Yeah,
he's a walk-on, and he just got better and better and better. So he was impressive. And then, in the end, even though I don't love the idea that they took 2 quarterbacks, I do like that you got a guy that for all the criticism of Shedeur Sanders, most people thought he was at least worth a second-round pick. And a lot of it, for all the talk from the mock drafters, most of those guys had him as a top 30 prospect. He may not have been top 10, but he was top 30, and the Browns got him in the 5th round. So overall, I think they did a very good job. I think if they would have taken somebody else in the 1st round and not taken Dillon, what's his name? Dillon Gabriel, I would have probably given him an A. But just the way they went about it, taking 2 quarterbacks, I had to drop to a B. But I think overall they did a good job.
Jason.
Hey, I'm with Bull. I hate quarterback. I hate draft grades. This is stupid.
Yeah, it is stupid.
Whatever. Especially they have so much more information than we do to begin with.
Right. And they're better at it, allegedly.
Yeah, for whatever, for the purposes of this, I loved everything that they did, except I thought the quarterbacks thing was totally insane. Outside of that, though, if you just strip off the numbers and just look at the players that they got, it's a home run. The Schwesinger pick, the linebacker, I know a lot of people are complaining about that. For whatever it's worth, Dane Brugler picked that as his favorite pick of the draft, of the Browns draft. He loved the pick.
Saw that.
Listen, I think it's a pretty obvious statement about JOK and where they think he's at health-wise. By the way, JOK was a 2nd-round pick. Now, he was a little bit lower of a 2nd-round pick. Anyone upset that they took JOK in the 2nd round? No. If he can play, they need good young players. They need talent on this football team. And they just drafted a lot of playmakers, it looks like to me, on both sides of the ball. Now we'll see if it works out or not. The Gabriel thing, I can't wrap my head around.
I can't either.
I have not been. As soon as they took him, I said, oh, my God, it's Cody Kessler. It's Cody Kessler all over again. And I was talking to Zach about it this morning, Zach Jackson. He said it's an analytics pick all the way. It's a slam dunk. This is an analytics type of draft pick.
So Paul DePodesta.
I knew you were going to say that.
The boogeyman.
The Shedeur thing we're going to spend the next hour and 53 minutes talking about. So I'll skip over.
In the shadows.
I'll skip over Shedeur for now. But for I said last week, I was probably in the minority on this. I like Judkins better than Travion. If we're doing
you
Ohio
did say
State
that.
backs.
He's certainly more reliable health-wise.
Not by much. If they landed either one of them, I'd have been ecstatic.
Right. Yeah.
I just like Judkins a little bit better. So I was thrilled with that pick. I have no issue with taking 2 running backs.
I like that.
You're not going to fill all their holes in one draft.
Right.
There are so many holes. I would love to see them get an offensive tackle. I'd love to see them get a receiver.
I wish we had a receiver.
But you're not going to fill it all. No. You're just not. So
You need 12 picks to do that.
Yeah, so for what they had to work with, and they told you, I felt like they told you early on they didn't like the bottom of this draft. The fact that they traded, we didn't really talk about this, before the draft even started, to take 2 6s and move up for a future 5 is telling me they don't like the bottom of the draft.
I know, but then the Ravens, who always nailed the draft and got an A+ by most accounts on this draft, had 5 6th-round picks.
I'm not saying they're right.
Right,
I'm just telling you. If you
I go by track record and history.
Yeah, but if you just
you're going to trust the Ravens more than the Browns.
Typically,
yes. But just look at their process. The Browns are telling you, and then they bundle the picks again to move up to go get Shedeur. They're telling you they did not like the bottom of that draft. So, but for what they had at the top, I loved what they did. And I have no issue with Mason Graham either. At first, we were all kind of surly about it Thursday night, but I loved the trade down. I advocated for it for months. They did exactly what I wanted them to do. Yep. Get a future 1st-round pick so that you're in the game now for quarterback next year.
Got overall, 2 of them next year.
Yeah, I love it.
After going 3 straight years prior to this year with none.
Yeah.
Man, I was one of them dudes that was real. After that first day, I was pissed off. I'm like, bro, we done moved back. And then you start the next day. And then you get the linebacker. Now, I feel what it says more about the linebacker pick selection is what they really feel about the prognosis of JOK coming back to play at all this year. I think they're like, listen, this linebacker class is weaker. We don't feel there's any guys later on that we can get that can help us out. So even if traditionally you don't really take linebackers that high, he was the first pick of the second
Right.
round. So I'm like, what the heck? So I get it. You look at his stuff. He's more of a guy he's athletic. He can move around. He can play in pass down coverages. And I think they view him as a late bloomer, a guy who, kind of hit his trajectory. Okay, he's a walk-on a little bit. Then he played, and then he blew out, just broke out last year. So I think they really liked it.
And, they must have really loved him because apparently they had multiple offers to trade down out of that spot.
They did.
So they must have really liked him.
They did. So you take those first two, and you say, okay, after the first two rounds, you got a linebacker, you got a defensive tackle. So they're like, okay, let's solidify the defense. Okay, let's roll out. Now you get to the picks in the middle rounds. You get Judkins. I thought they really started to heat up when they got Judkins. I was like, okay, now we got something here. I like him. He reminds me of a younger Kareem Hunt. He's going to pound the football. And then they go and get Harold Fannin Jr. Now I'm like, okay, cool. We got a tight end. We can roll with this. We got 2 tight ends, him and Njoku, and they're going to be able to use him in a lot of different ways. Then the Dillon Gabriel pick came, and then it went nuclear. It went nuclear all over the internet because at that point, we're like, what are we doing? Because we sat here on the first night and said, that move just told us that they was not drafting no quarterback of significance high. I'm looking at the third round, and I said, bro, you could have got a starter there. That was a starter.
Yeah.
I said, so they come back with the Dylan Sampson move, and I'm like, I like this kid. This kid's of mine. I said, you got 2 running backs. Those dudes are going to split carries. They're going to be in the mix right now today. So I'm looking at it, I'm like, man, okay, let's see what they do with this second one. They trade up, they get Shedeur Sanders, and here's why I think that makes a big difference on the rest of their grade. Because I've always said, the Cleveland Browns have trouble picking a quarterback. Some caller on the way in said this earlier. He said if you have a halftime shot, right, and it's a very difficult shot, do you want 1 or 2 shots to make the basket? He said, I'll take 2. Cleveland Browns, they got to take 2.
They need 7.
They need 10. And you know what they did? They went and got Joe Flacco. They said, maybe you got something, maybe you don't. They went and got Kenny Pickett. They said, you're a former first-round pick. Maybe you might want to rekindle your career. We'll give you a shot. They got Dillon Gabriel. He's a smaller version guy. He's a dude that's accurate. He's highly intelligent. Let's see if he comes in and can kind of shake the world up a little bit. And then you got Shedeur Sanders, who, okay, well, he was supposed to go first round, second round. Well, now you got a 5th round Shedeur Sanders with great value. So, look, if none of those dudes hit, who cares? 5th round, 3rd round, old dude, and I traded for Kenny Pickett. You still got another pick next year to go get the quarterback that you said you wanted. It don't matter. Now we got competition. Hey, I told you, it's the gladiators. Take this sword. I'm going to throw 4 swords out here. Y'all come into the arena, and let's see who makes it out. And we're still pulling the lions and all the moats and all the boats out here, too. I love it. Practice counts now. Cupcake training camp is over. It's position battles, Jason. I'm excited about football now.
We got a good old-fashioned quarterback
Wait, what's your grade? Did you give one?
B+.
Oh, all that. That's where I am.
B+, yeah.
You seem to like it a lot more than I do.
No, it's just a little more interesting now. Now I can watch the gladiators.
If you grade it on drama only, A+, win the draft.
Oh, yeah.
As they have many, 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 many times.
Yeah.
I'm with Bull. I hate this exercise. I think it is one of the only thing more ridiculous is that a lot of these guys will have the 2026 mock draft out today.
Yeah, oh,
that's
God.
the only thing.
By the way,
they should lose their license.
Way too early. I love it.
All of them hate doing it too.
Listen,
trust me. I have bosses who say mock draft, and we all say we hate these.
And guess what? We got the scheduled game coming up right after this.
Oh,
next week.
yeah.
Yeah, we ready to go.
It is one of the most ridiculous. The guys at ESPN hated it. ESPN management said, talk to me after we see how many clicks we get. It's the draft is proof we live in a clickbait world.
Oh, my God, yeah.
If you're looking for the one thing that proves that we live in clickbait, look no further than the NFL draft.
Yeah.
I hate them. I would love to give them an incomplete, which is what all 32 teams deserve today. However, I'll hold my grade till the end. Yeah. I'll give you the things I love about it, the things I don't.
We just gave it away. You said you had the same grade as him.
Yeah. Damn it. That was my own fault because I pushed him on it. I'm like, you got to give me your grade.
So Jay's giving him a B+ because I'll help you out here, Jay.
Yeah. So in a vacuum, I hated the Dillon Gabriel pick like you.
Yeah.
But it needs context. When they made that pick, they had no idea that the guy who's the draft guru? If I press everybody,
Kiper.
Mel Kiper is the guy. There are a lot of guys that are better than him,
Yeah.
but Mel Kiper has
the
the
guy-
hair.
he's the godfather.
He has a
The godfather.
35-year
He's the
chain. He's the
godfather.
godfather.
He's the Godfather.
He had Shedeur Sanders ranked as what?
One.
The best prospect.
Best prospect in this draft.
Number 5 overall, number 1 quarterback.
Yes. Now, because of that, you have to watch and see what happens in the 4th rounds and the 5th rounds. And the Browns are sitting there, and somebody sent me a text. You can't build the airplane while it's in the air. I understand that. You can't. You need a plan. But as Mike Tyson famously said, everyone has a plan until they get punched in the mouth. And what I liked about this particular move was that they pivoted. Now, not everybody in the room liked it. I'm not a body language reading expert, but I've been doing it for 59 years. And I can tell you that Andrew Berry and Kevin Stefanski were not engineers of this pick.
You're talking Shedeur.
Shedeur.
Yeah.
They clearly were not.
Now they'll tell you that video is not
Of course
synced up.
they'll tell
I
you
know.
that. Of
We
course
have to-
they'll.
we have to
and here's what
present
else
their
I've heard
defense.
this. I've heard this argument. Well, what kind of reaction were the other teams given their 5th round pick? They got the number 1 rated quarterback by the Godfather. You would think they'd be doing backflips in that room. They weren't.
Yeah.
Especially when they traded up for it.
Especially when they moved up to
Yeah.
get it. Exactly right. Fair point.
Yeah.
So, yes, we've got to do this silly exercise and give the grade. I was fine with the Gabriel pick. I didn't love it, but we knew we had to have a quarterback. And to me, it kind of echoed what we were talking about Friday. Oh, they're setting up the tank. This is a gentleman's punt. That's what they're doing.
Look at their offense. Their first 2 picks were defense. What does that tell you?
And
Yeah.
what's the biggest need area-wise on the football team? I know outside of quarterback. It's offensive line. We're old and we're hurt. Did we take one?
Nope.
No. I went by Berea today. It's not on my way into work, but I wanted to see something. I wanted to check my theory. And I was right. There were construction crews out there. They're knocking down walls. They're expanding the quarterback room. They don't have enough room over there for the quarterbacks. They need a bigger room.
Well done.
We're going to need a bigger room. So,
Got to fit all those cameras in. Got to fit the camera crew.
oh my God. You know, if you wanted drama, you've got it.
You got it.
Who's doing Hard Knocks next year?
Not these guys.
Why?
They just were on last year. They can't force them back on.
No, they were on the in-season.
No,
they
that
were
counts.
It counts.
It counts.
Oh,
There's
that's
no way-
awful.
Yeah,
I
'cause
thought
you know
it
the
was
league
just
would want
for the preseason
Nope.
version.
It counts.
That's the
This would have been the best pairing for ever.
No, it would have been great.
I mean,
Hard Knocks has gone soft, though. They don't
It has, yeah.
no, because the league got too involved. The league has editorial control more than they should. Guys, we had on tape Thursday Dillon Sanders asking his boy, who the Browns have? Shedeur says, Joe Flacco. Dillon laughs and says, he's my age. Chuckle, chuckle, chuckle. Mm-hmm. They're going to be sitting next to each other now. They didn't bring Flacco back last year because Deshaun didn't want him there. Now they have Joe Flacco, and they're going to have a quarterback in the room whose father and he were mocking him on draft day.
I wouldn't go as far as mocking.
Mocking? Were they laughing at his expense?
Mocking. Hey, 41 years old. I'm 43.
No, he's 40.
Hey, if they say, G. Bush,
He's 40.
man, G. Bush, can you got any more snaps left in you? Nah, I'm 43, man.
You're not Joe Flacco, though, G.
I mean, Joe Flacco.
Joe Flacco's on an NFL contract.
Hey,
And if you're looking for the reason why he fell, which we'll get into, that's a microcosm of what was going on. That's a microcosm of what was going on. I can't even tell. There's so much nonsense on the internet today. I dismissed all of it because I said immediately these comments can't be true. What Dillon is saying about
Right. I don't think it's.
I
was
haven't
asking
seen
the same
anybody
thing.
verify it.
That's not true.
No, it's
it's
not.
not.
But
true.
it's
real to my
nonsense.
knowledge.
no, it's not. It's not. And there were a lot of them.
Yeah.
It's like everything from he's showing up with his son to the Browns
Right,
meeting.
And here in Cleveland, what we have to do is we have to be very judicious. I'm not going to be
we're known for
running
being
around
judicious.
for 4, 5, 6 months in a row, looking and having to verify every little thing. Is this correct? Is Dion's father?
Well, that's the world we live in now.
Is that I'm not going to participate in that.
I'm not either, but that unfortunately, a lot of people were sending that to me.
Yeah, there's a
and
lot.
and I was replying back, send it to me from a reliable source.
Right. There's so
I
much
don't-
fake stuff on social
It's-
media now.
and
It's just terrible.
Really, where we are, why we're doing this is for the same reason that everyone's doing it. It is, and I don't have research to back this up, but I'm going to make this proclamation. The NFL draft is the single biggest mover of sports media without any clock or action.
Yes.
There's nothing going on. I mean, there's a clock. Obviously, you're on the clock. But I mean, any actual sporting event. The number of clicks, the number of views. We just did a record. Since last Thursday, the time the draft started, to today, we're almost at 1 million views for this little internet show in Cleveland. Why? We talked about the draft.
My podcast got the most views I've ever had.
Of course. This is it. This is the Super Bowl. Yeah. And I'll end by saying this. I have to give them a B+. Back to the Dillon Gabriel thing. In context, whatever, it was what it was. The reason they salvaged that pick was because, okay, they clearly didn't love Shedeur Sanders in the third round.
No.
Clearly. They did not have a third-round grade on Shedeur Sanders. But when he slipped to the fourth and when he slipped to the fifth, I liked their move to pivot. They said, we're going to get a lot of scorn for this. They're going to either look like geniuses or morons. One or the other. And a friend of mine...
I don't think they can look like morons.
No, you can look like a moron if both of them completely wash out.
Yeah, that's why you got Kenny Pickett.
Here's why. You don't have a wide receiver and you don't have an offensive lineman when you could have. Everybody keeps saying...
The quarterback's the most important position.
Of course it is, Jay. Of course, but you have to keep your quarterback healthy.
No one's expecting a third and a fifth round pick to turn into a franchise quarterback.
Jay, the fans will now.
They're darts.
The fans will not look at these guys as third round and fifth round picks. The fans are looking at these guys as future stars for the Browns. That is their problem, and that is their fault. But here's the thing. When you take 2 picks, and I'm with you on this, when you take 2 at quarterback and you have a glaring need at offensive line and you didn't address that, had you gotten that right in the third round, I was for taking Shedeur in the third round. I thought he'd slipped far enough. That was a value there. Now in the fifth round, you can at least address that, the offensive line there. Granted, you're not going to get somebody that's going to change the world, but you get a body, and like you say, you get a halftime shot. You get a chance. Right now, we know what our offensive line is. It's not great. All of that being said, because of the quality of players they got, Can't McKinley kid, like a Bowling Green kid, and I've always tried to divorce myself from the attachments. Like, I wanted Jack Sawyer here. I wanted Will Howard here. Part of that was because of the Buckeyes. But the only thing that scares me about those guys is they went to Pittsburgh, the program that's notorious for taking Buckeyes that we pass on and quarterbacks from Ohio that we pass on, and they do well. We'll just have to wait and see. A buddy of mine sent me a funny tweet. It's only funny because it's true. He said, hey, I think this is a slam dunk draft. You guys got 2 quarterbacks, and everyone knows your track record at developing quarterbacks. It's pretty damn good. So there's that. But all of that being said, Shedeur in the 5th made this grade for me a B+. Without Shedeur in the 5th, it's probably a B-. And just to show you how ridiculous this exercise is, I saw the following grades. I searched everywhere, all the reputable sources that I lean on. I saw everywhere from an A+, best in the draft, to a C-, ranked 26th. So that's why all of this exercise is a joke.
Well, we all got our thoughts out, which is the big premise of this exercise, is to touch on everything. We're going to get to the Schwesinger pick, the Judkins, the Fannin.
Mike's struggling with that one.
It's Schwesinger.
Well, look at it this way. You never have to say Tyler Shuck's name ever again.
That is good. But we're going to get to all those picks coming up in a little bit. But we do got to start
unless he drops 4 tutties on the Browns.
Version of the quarterback dilemma the Browns are now out. And that's going to be brought to us by Buckeye State Credit Union. If you're unfamiliar with Buckeye State Credit Union, let me introduce you to the financial friend you didn't know you needed until right now. Buckeye State Credit Union is a local brand that offers a wide range of products, from checking accounts to home equity lines of credit and auto loans. They have some of the lowest rates around and are committed to serving Northeast Ohio. The Cleveland location is right over in Shaker Heights, but they have 5 brick and mortar locations across the state. Buckeye State Credit Union is here to help make your life easier. They make banking more convenient, always putting the customer first, so you leave feeling cared for, valued, and respected. Connect, simplify, and adapt. Those are the core values that make Buckeye State Credit Union the right choice for you. For more information, head over to buckeyecu.org. Buckeye State Credit Union, your money simplified. Jason, you wrote a column yesterday in The Athletic about the Shedeur Sanders pick and who you believed was pulling the trigger on that pick. The front office, Jimmy Haslam, some collaboration between the two. Do you want to give everyone the real quick synopsis of that column, and then we could discuss what everyone else in the panel thinks on who was behind that 5th round decision?
I poked around with a couple other teams and just thought, and really, I'll go back to the Dillon Gabriel pick Friday night, and I texted a coach with another team who knows the Browns operation, who knows them, how they function, knows them well. And I said, okay, so what do you make of Shedeur? What do you make of Dillon Gabriel over Shedeur? And he said, the Browns need another distraction like they need a hole in the head. Well, and I wrote, prepare the body and charge the drill. Here we
Incoming.
go. The pick nobody saw coming. And
God.
the consensus of the people that I've spoken to is this was 100% an owner's pick. You can look at the reactions of Andrew and Kevin, and again, their defense is that those are not synced up. That was not the actual reaction. They'll fight back on this tooth and nail that it was not a Jimmy pick. Here's the thing.
Usually when they fight back on that, it's true.
Well, here's the thing. He has not earned the benefit of the doubt.
Nope.
He has years of this type of behavior. He forced them to go up and get Manziel. He kept adding zeros to the check on Deshaun. Deshaun told him no, they were ready to move on, and Jimmy wouldn't take no for an answer. And we know now how that turned out. So the track record speaks to you're not going to give him the benefit of the doubt on this. Ultimately, though, I don't think it matters. He's here. Let's go. Figure it out. Now that he's here,
it only matters if it blows up.
Yeah, I mean, it's not great if the owner's really pulling strings on this. You want these guys to be empowered to do their job. And I think part of the reason I was so surprised is because I do think that he has tried to remove himself from that process. And I do think that he trusts these, right or wrong, whether you agree with it or not, I believe that he trusts this regime more than he has in the past, or at least he's learned lessons from the past. But one thing I keep going back to is it felt like they were on a certain track with the quarterback room. And Baker, there was drama. There was social media. There was just a lot going on. There was a lot
we're going to have that again.
Well, but just bear with me. With Baker, there was a lot of chaos at the quarterback position when he was here. He's grown up now. I'm not talking about Baker Tampa. I'm talking Cleveland Baker. There was just a lot of going on with it. And then we know what happens with Deshaun and the Instagram model and everything going on and all the controversy that came with it. And there wasn't a ton of really locker room leadership going on there. And it felt like a drastic pivot. And I'll even go back to Manziel and just the disaster that Johnny was at that spot. And it felt like a drastic pivot this offseason at the most important position on the field. Say what you want about Kenny Pickett. Anyone who knows him says he's an incredible leader. He's great in the locker room. He's a great dude. He's going to keep his mouth shut. He's going to show up and he's going to put in the work. Joe Flacco is a grown-ass man. He's 40 years old. He's a dad. Like, he meets his responsibilities. He's a terrific leader.
He's a pro.
Again, gone with all of the nonsense. Dillon Gabriel. Yes, he's small. Yes, he's undersized. There's all that. Anyone who knows him, when I poked around on him, incredible leader, incredible in the locker room, incredible da-da-da-da-da-da-da. So you have all of that. I'm not saying Shedeur can't be a great leader. Not what I'm saying. But obviously there's a lot of noise that comes with Shedeur Sanders. And it felt like they were moving away from all of the noise at that spot, and then all of a sudden, wham, here it comes. So every indication outside looking in was this was the owner's pick. This was the owner's doing what, and I'm not necessarily saying they're wrong. Like in the 5th round, you got good value there. I don't think anyone can dispute that. There's great. Take a swing and see. Maybe you run into something. Sooner or later, for the love of God,
you got to get it right.
25 years. Sooner or later, you got to get this right. So take the swings. But if you want to answer the question, who do I believe made the pick? Yeah, I think it was driven by the owner.
What can I ask? And if you don't want to share it, that's fine. What pushback did you receive?
Just that the storyline of Jimmy's involvement is tired and overblown.
But that can't be a criticism. The criticism that they have to have is it's not true.
Well, of course they're going to deny.
Did they tell you, we can with all certainty tell you that Jimmy did not make this pick?
No, I mean, it was implied. It wasn't.
Right. They never said those words.
Yeah, but I mean, it doesn't matter because they could lie.
I know.
I hear what you're saying.
I know.
But this isn't a court of law.
Your criticism, your criticism can't be that's an old, tired narrative.
It just feels,
well, if it's true, it's not.
But the thing that I wrote in the column, like Earl's cracking up with the line, the last sports car they have is still wrapped around a tree in the forest, and they're not even finished paying off on that one. And they're racing to the lot and putting a down payment down.
I like that analogy.
The big difference here from those other two cases is ultimately that he was a 5th round
That's
pick.
why I
So if
said,
it doesn't work out,
there's not a lot of risk involved.
The Browns may look stupid ultimately for drafting both of them, but if it doesn't work out with Shedeur, okay, he alone was a 5th round pick, so it's not a big deal.
If it's a disaster, if it's a circus, if it doesn't meet his responsibilities, They could just cut him and walk away.
I will say, I think the storylines about the drama surrounding him got way overblown. Like that was
I do too.
that was not being talked about that much before the draft. And then all of a sudden, when he had this drop, all these things get brought up. Yeah. I had never heard he was a bad leader or his teammates didn't like him. I don't know. Where did the
pre-draft there was the unnamed executive.
There was a lot. I came back from the owners' meetings and I sat here and told you guys there's a lot of crap out there on Shedeur, but I'm not going to tell you what I know.
Yeah, you said you didn't want to repeat it.
I'm not going to crap on this kid before he ever
and that was responsible.
But that wasn't from teammates, was it?
Not from the league. And it was just stuff. It was how the league viewed him, which they just showed you.
Yes.
They spent the entire weekend telling you what they thought about him. They're not making that up. Like the Tom Pelissero report about it was the worst interview, whatever. And
do we have any idea where that came from, though? It was just an unnamed executive.
Unnamed assistant coach.
Okay.
But I
hate those, by the way. I know no one can put their name to that.
Okay, well, here's the thing. Had he not written that, had none of this stuff come out, and then Shedeur falls the 5th round, and then you say, well, there was this and this, and then I tell you what I was told.
That's fire with no smoke.
Well, but then everyone's going to stand up and say, well, then why did you say that before?
Yeah, you're right.
So then you say it before, and everyone's like, well, why are you crapping on this kid?
You're absolutely right.
So you can't win. But the league just told you what they felt about Shedeur Sanders.
Collectively.
Yeah.
Collectively.
Well,
all of
but
them.
he didn't go to the 5th round because of his talent. I don't believe that.
Here's the part that I think was missed in all this.
Yeah.
They don't think the juice is worth the squeeze.
Yep, that's it.
Period.
Right.
I agree with
whatever,
that.
the Dion, whatever else, if he had Cam Newton talent, if they felt he had Cam Newton talent, he's the #1 pick. The rest of it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
They felt ultimately the juice was not worth the squeeze. And that's why he went where he went.
I love it. You know,
whether they're right or not, we'll find out.
That's the beauty of it. We'll all learn.
Yeah.
You know this. You get if you look at Shedeur Sanders. Listen, if you say what you want to about him, I think everybody has him. We just talked about it with Mel Kiper. He got him in the #1 pick as the #1 quarterback on the board. He slips to the 5th round. Here's the issue, and it's not even an issue. So what? Jimmy Haslam asked to take him. Actually, to be truthful, that's a smart business move. If I'm a businessman and we've already told and signified that we are worried about 2027, we not really want a quarterback high in this draft, why would I not take a lightning rod like this man and put him on my team? And I'm going, listen, we are now the talk of the town again. And if it don't work, you just cut him. My thing is you get the best version of Shedeur Sanders. If you think that he had some skill sets, but the thing that dropped him was his attitude, he was cocky, he was arrogant. Guess what? He's not cocky or arrogant now because the guy that they drafted ahead of him 2 rounds at #3, Dillon Gabriel, is right here. He's a 4-string quarterback.
Yep.
He's 4 in the depth chart.
He's 4 on a 3 quarterback team.
And you know what you got to do. I talked to Cecil Shorts with the recap. I said, Cecil, how is it when you are a pro and you come in and you know that you got drafted or you're brought in with a guy who got a contract higher than yours, picked higher? He said, you got laser focus. You don't care about your kids, your mom. You don't even really care about going to the bathroom. All you care about is that playbook, and every single time you get the ball, you got to deliver. You're going to get that from Shedeur Sanders, or he's not going to be in the league.
That's it.
Because they told you that we don't like you, and they don't like what you bring. They don't like what your daddy brings, correct or not. They gave you a shot. The Cleveland Browns gave you a shot. And so what you need to be doing, like I said in the postgame, is you need to thank the Hasms, you need to thank Andrew Berry and Kevin Stefanski, and who cares? They could have been crying on the screen. Oh, I don't want Shedeur. It's your job to change what they feel about you. Through your actions, through your integrity, through the way you play, and you got a shot. You already got money. You'll be rich forever. You and your family will. But I like what you said. I just want to play football. They're going to find out how much you want to play football. It's a brilliant pick.
I think what G said there, sorry to cut you off, Jay, was couldn't be more on the money.
Right.
That was well said. And now he like as an athlete, I don't know about his personal life. As an athlete, it seems like he's never had to overcome adversity as an athlete.
Has he ever been in trouble with the law ever?
No.
No.
To my knowledge, no, not
No.
even.
No.
I don't know if maybe it's him or his brother,
That was his brother.
in high school.
That was his brother.
Yeah, there was an incident in high school.
And
most of the guys that talked to him said he was aside from whatever baggage he might have, like they found him to be a good, likable kid.
This could turn out to be the best thing that happened for him.
It is.
As crazy as it may seem.
Just like
the
Baker
biggest
jumped
drop.
on 3 times.
There you go.
There
He woke up.
Yeah.
That's
He
it.
woke up.
And it maybe it turned. And you're right. It doesn't matter what his name is anymore. And going forward, I don't like that Jimmy Haslam got involved, but from today on, it doesn't matter.
Right.
He has the chance to prove he belongs in the NFL. He's going to be given nothing. He's got to prove it.
Yeah, it's a meritocracy here.
Yeah.
He's going to have to. Now, the sad thing, and I hate that I even go here because I want him to succeed. I want him to be an all-pro quarterback, leading the Browns to playoff after playoff appearance. But the comparison, like a lot of people say, well, here we go, Johnny Manziel all over again.
That's unfair.
That's not fair because where did Johnny slip to? What pick did he?
Still the first round,
Okay.
yeah.
So there was a fall with Johnny, and Johnny, if you can compare certain things about the two, they're flashy. They've got a lot of other things in their life other than football. They don't appeal to the mainstream or whatever it might be. Johnny played himself out of the league.
Yes.
Yeah.
I hope Shedeur gets the 3 chances that Baker got. So Baker got traded to Carolina, released, goes to the Rams, and then on team number 4, he found his stride. Will Shedeur get 4 teams? I don't know.
It's up to him.
It is up to him. But if he plays, like if he has a year like Baker had in year 1, yes, he will absolutely, because the scouts and the executives will be able to see, oh, it's in there. It's in there. We've got to get it. We got to get more of that and less of the nonsense.
Yeah.
And I hope that he gets those opportunities.
He ain't getting them. He better be pinpoint.
Well,
he better
on
be
that,
cold.
on that, like, here's the most beautiful thing about this. There's not a correct answer today. There isn't. There's a lot of different varying opinions. I went back and looked at some draft controversies of the past. There was an infamous exchange between the Indianapolis Colts executive and Mel Kiper.
Oh, yeah.
In which they essentially were calling each other
idiots.
Idiots. And I'm being nice.
Trev Alberts and Trent Dilfer.
No.
Trev Alberts was
Jim Harbaugh. It was Jim Harbaugh.
Dilfer.
No. Mel Kiper was insisting.
They wanted him to take Dilfer, and they took Trev Alberts.
Yeah,
Whatever, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't. But they were calling each other names on the air.
Yeah.
Like literally saying, you guys are idiots. And then the Colts GM came back and he's like, this guy has as much credibility as my neighbor who's a postal worker.
Yeah.
Like, none of it means anything, right? Okay, but here's the beautiful answer about this. Once upon a time, there was another big controversy. Ryan Leaf, Peyton Manning. I don't know that there's ever been any more controversy that was definitively proven. Like, Leaf went one way and Manning went the other, and they were in 180-degree opposite direction. I'm not saying we'll have that here. I'm not saying we're going to get that here. But we will get this. We will get an answer within 4 years if Shedeur Sanders was worthy of being an NFL player or not. And so all of the nonsense, bloviating, that he should have been the number 1, should have been a first rounder, it's nonsense for right now. It is in his hands. That's the thing we have to remember.
Yeah.
Now, forget the noise of the past. It's over. You show up to camp, you have one thing on your mind. Oh, I got doubters. And I'm about to prove all of them wrong.
And it's not crazy to think he could go from number 4 to number 1.
It's
That's
not.
not impossible.
Look at the room.
Yeah.
Look, when have the Browns had a season where they haven't started 4 quarterbacks?
Yeah. Not very
In
often.
recent memory, I can't
Well,
think of it.
2020 they did.
Not in our
2020.
history.
No, 2020.
Well, that
No,
was-
we were not. We weren't doing a show yet.
Oh, for the show. Okay.
The only history we know. Now, as for the Jimmy Haslam thing in particular, who's the most meddlesome owner in the NFL?
Jerry Jones.
Yeah. I don't think I'm surprised it took you that long.
Yeah.
It's Jerry Jones. What have they done? Where's their success?
They've had a lot of regular season success, no playoff success.
No.
Yeah.
People have told me, the same people that told me, Jay, please pick another team, because this team's going to be where they are forever as long as this guy's the owner. Please pick another team. Save yourself the grief. Those same people told me he's a poor man's Jerry Jones. I said, what's that mean? He meddles, but he knows less than Jerry. Jerry knows just enough to be dangerous. Jimmy does not.
I mean, Jerry doesn't hide. He's the GM.
Yeah, you're right.
Jerry is owning it. He wears the blazer.
Yeah.
Here's what I would suggest for the 2026 draft. Jimmy Haslam is a man of many resources. He owns a basketball team that competes with the Cleveland Cavaliers. We know how much money he has. Book a cruise. Make it to the Mediterranean. Have it start the week before the draft. And you're rich, you got a lot of cash. Stay for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Come back, drive into Berea and say, all right, boys, I pay you guys a lot of money to make me a good football team here. What you got?
Yeah.
Jay, that
Can he
brings
take
us
his
right-
son-in-law with him too, please?
Yes, he should.
That brings us literally right into our next topic. I don't know if you did that
Yeah.
intentionally, but a great segue. Our next topic is brought to us by Living for We. Gun violence is an epidemic. It's the leading cause of death for teenagers. And on this season of Living for We, we're asking what can be done to end cycles of violence in cities like Cleveland, where the shooters value their reputation over their own lives and see innocent bystanders as just collateral damage. Living for We is more than a podcast. It's a resource for communities tired of chaos and ready to build peace. It tells real stories from those most affected and solutions from change makers in the community, the families, the parents, the victims, and everything in between. The mission is simple: empower communities to create safer neighborhoods free from gun violence by highlighting local heroes, connecting resources and solutions, and building bridges through honest, community-driven dialogue. You can find new episodes every Tuesday wherever you get your podcasts, and you can watch full episodes by searching for Living for We on YouTube. Boy, you mentioned this in your intro in our shotgun reaction, but the Browns obviously made the trade on Thursday, going from 2 to 5, picking up that extra 2026 first-round pick. We thought it would be extra ammunition to get a quarterback. Then they drafted Gabriel and Sanders in the 2025 draft. So what do you make big picture of the Browns' strategy at the quarterback room now as they still look to find their first real franchise quarterback in a long, long time?
Now, listen, if one of these quarterbacks happens to work out, and I don't know that we'll find that out after 1 year, but the Browns on some level are going to have to make a decision on that after 1 year, then they could always use those picks to get two excellent players at other positions. That would be a good problem to have.
Right.
It just seems like such a weird move. And I get what everybody's saying. Well, it's only 3 spots, but those 3 spots felt big because the guy you could have had at 2 versus the guy you had at 5, one seems like more of a dynamic game changer than the other guy who's a defensive tackle. So, but anyway, in terms of what they did specifically at quarterback, obviously the whole process was weird because first they made it seem like they weren't going to draft a quarterback at all by making that trade. It felt like they were passing on next year. Then they took Gabriel, which was completely out of left field. His name was never mentioned. Nobody thought about him at all. Jason said it felt like an analytics pick, which was weird because everything else they did was anti-analytics. Drafting off-ball linebackers, defensive tackles, and running backs. That's anti-analytics all the way. And then they get Shedeur. Then Sanders fell in their lap. Whoever drafted him, but it's great value at that point. So it was a weird. It ended up being really strange the way it happened.
Can I ask a question here? And we haven't talked about this. I've asked this of several of my Browns fans, friends, and people in the media. How many quarterbacks are the Browns going to keep?
3.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you name them? You
I
start.
think you could. What's funny is you could. I was thinking about this all weekend. Who's the most likely to be out of here?
Because this is where the rubber meets the road.
I could make a case for any of the 4 being gone. I know.
I'm going to infuriate all of you.
You're going to say Flacco's gone.
Yeah. On April 28th at 11:42 in the morning, I mean, we have an entire.
If that happens, gentleman's punt. 100% gentleman's punt.
What more evidence do you need?
Well, listen, I already think it is. But if you have Flacco as your quarterback, we saw how he can elevate all boats with his tie.
Why would you want to elevate the boat?
That's it.
Guys,
The reason I asked this question is because if this wasn't a gentleman's punt, I don't know what the hell is.
Yeah.
What quarterback?
I'm going to say
Whoa.
Pickett's gone, but it wouldn't surprise me if it was Flacco.
We missing the boat again. This is the exact opposite of a gentleman's punt. You brought in every different rainbow of quarterback you can find. You brought in the guy in Kenny Pickett. Everybody saying he's a starter. He just sat behind somebody in Philadelphia.
No, nobody said he's a starter except me. I'm the one.
Aditi and Mary Kay were with you.
Aditi, Jeff Phelps, and now Andy Baskin have joined the dark side.
Of course they have.
Kenny Pickett is the guy. Listen, that's fine. He's a former first-round pick. Let's see what he can do. Joe Flacco, when he was here, he was electric. We can't deny it. They went to the playoffs. He may be older, whatever.
Was on pace for 27 interceptions that
There
year.
you go. That might be true, too.
Yeah.
So now you brought in...
That might be. It is true.
You brought in 2 rookies that are both going to be hungry. Listen, nobody is half-stepping.
Yeah.
When Kenny Pickett comes in, he better be sharp because he'll be gone. If it's Joe Flacco, get your mind right or you'll be gone. It could be Dillon Gabriel could mess around and be the starting quarterback. So he's a 3rd-round pick. So what I love about it is we can't, now for once, We don't have narrative football. There's no Deshaun Watson is the guy. There's no, we already know Jacoby's going to play. Or we know, no. This is all back to ground zero. We don't know who's going to get cut, and I like it that way. Whoever plays well, they get to stay. It's Hunger Games.
So here's what's wrong with that, though, G.
Put it in the sky.
Typically, the Browns haven't played quarterbacks. They're starting quarterback in the preseason. I only ask this question because I do think
they don't have a starting quarterback. So
they don't.
We don't. If we're going to do ridiculous exercises like grade the draft, throwing darts in the dark, let's just do another one. Let's all of us put the 3 names down that are going to be on this roster.
I say Pickett's gone. He said Flacco.
I say Flacco's gone.
I think it's Flacco, if that counts.
Yeah, it absolutely counts.
Yeah.
Flacco would be the odd man out because of the age, and they keep one young guy. They could put another young guy on the practice squad if they choose to. Yeah,
they're not going to get one of these young guys.
They can't put him on the practice squad, otherwise somebody will claim him.
What are they paying
you can
Flacco?
sign him off the practice squad.
$4
million.
What are they paying Pickett?
I don't know what his salary is, but they gave up a 5th round. They gave up this is the point that I think everybody's missing on Pickett. They pursued him immediately. Right after the season was over, what's one of the first moves they made?
Yeah,
they traded for Kenny Pickett. They traded for him. They gave up a 5th round pick. Doesn't sound like much. It's a draft asset.
His salary is $2.6 million, by the way.
And Dorian.
Okay.
And which you can say how much value is there. They gave up a player and they gave up a draft pick. They gave Joe Flacco $4 million.
Now I know that they went after him, but if you say that in a vacuum, like if you were to ask NFL executives, you need a quarterback this year, Slim Pickens out there, there's not much, who are you going to go after? The notion that someone would say, oh, you got to give me some Kenny Pickett in here.
They could have signed Joe Flacco whatever they wanted.
Bingo.
Whenever they wanted to.
They could have signed Joe as soon as free agency opened, and they didn't.
So my question here is this. He was the first one here. Yeah, of course they did. My question on this, if you want to go that way, and that's fine. You cut Joe Flacco. I don't care who gets cut. This is what I care about.
You can recoup a pick for him.
I hope you can trade him. Can you?
Yeah.
I don't know. He's 40.
Joe Flacco.
Teams don't need quarterbacks in August. They need him in October.
Flacco is not. First of all, we underestimate this. Flacco is going to come in here and he's going to have the playbook ready to go.
Yeah.
He knows the playbook.
Second of all, if Joe Flacco ain't lost nothing on his fastball, he has the best arm right now. Dead or alive, 41.
Okay, so then who else gets cut?
The problem is Joe might win them 1 or 2 games that they don't necessarily need.
That's
to
another
win
thing.
Right now.
That's a whole nother can of worms. But my thing is this. Here's what if you bring 4 in for maximum upside competition. Nobody can take nothing off. So you're going to get the best Pickett if he wins. Mm-hmm. You're going to get the best Shedeur Sanders if he wins. If Joe Flacco beats these 2 young thoroughbreds out and Pickett, who thinks he should be starting, then Joe Flacco's ready to go.
And you don't need to decide now. I mean, this decision could wait till the end of August. They could get hurt. Who knows? You know.
I think, you're right.
That's why I didn't put it in today, because there's so many variables. Real quick, G, what do you think of the strategy, though, to draft 2 quarterbacks after they traded back?
No, he's already on record.
I know. Everyone gets a chance to chime in.
He's been saying for 2 weeks they better take 2 quarterbacks.
He's been saying for 6 months.
Gets a chance to answer the question here.
Operation Stockpile.
I'm trying to help you out here.
No, that was a pocket pass. I got it. I'm going to finish this. I'm going to finish this layup, McNuggets. I love that. I said 2 from the beginning because, listen, and the cool thing about it is they drafted 2 and used no assets. I went back to the RG3 Kirk Cousins thing, right? Kirk Cousins, a guy who we wanted. People flipped out when they said the Washington, at the time, Redskins, and they traded multiple picks to get RG3. Mm-hmm. Massive haul. Then they went, I believe, in the 4th round and took Kirk Cousins as well. And people was like, well, dude, that could have been a playmaker we had for RG3. How are we going to take 2 quarterbacks? The reason I love taking 2 quarterbacks is, 1, you only did it at 3 and 5. So if you miss, who cares? Also, you got a person at an extreme discount. And when you look at Shedeur Sanders, I'll take that every day and twice on Sunday. He 1st round grade, 2nd round grade at worst. You get him in the 5th round. And I like the fact that, look, the Cleveland Browns, and Jason said it. Jason's been saying this for a while. The Cleveland Browns be drafting to get backups. I think that they wanted to draft DTR as the complete backup. They wanted DTR.
Well, when you're paying Deshaun what you are, you need a cost-controlled backup. They wanted Dorian to be the long-term backup.
So now, if they're looking, see the Cleveland Browns, worst come to worst, if Shedeur ain't crazy or Dillon Gabriel ain't crazy and they don't see it as a starter, they still have those guys. They still have those guys to say, okay, well, listen, we don't like one of y'all as a starter, but you're a cost-effective backup. We like you like the system. And you still can get a quarterback next year. So for me, keep swinging for the fences. This can only be upside. It could only be upside. There's no downside to having 2 quarterbacks, especially when you got a veteran who you know can go out and perform, and another guy that you like that you traded for.
I've been telling you guys since October, the focus is the dome. The focus is 2029 in the dome.
Yeah, that's
and
good for fans.
You have to have
something.
You have to have an appealing
that's
product
shitty for
on the field by 26, 27. 2025 doesn't matter, guys.
Yeah.
And every time I say it, everybody yells at me. But I'm telling you, what more evidence do you need? This is a season of transition. If you look at this year, I have been looking at 2025 as this transition year. If you look at it through that lens, everything they did makes perfect sense. You go from 2 to 5, you get an extra 1 for next year to go get a quarterback. You take 2 in the meantime, low risk, high reward, and you have to play them, by the way. Like, they have to play. If they're on the roster, there is no sitting. Whoever it is, Pickett, Flacco, week 1.
You got to know about them.
You have got to, and it's the same thing I said about Dorian last year. You have to figure out what you have. Because if you ran into something, you got lucky, great. And if you didn't, you're going to be bad enough to be in position to go get what you need. But you have to play them. So they're going to play, like, early.
Yeah.
They have to.
Sure.
The coach wants to win, though, Jason.
Of course.
Coach is not coaching to lose.
The coach wants to win. The players want to win.
Yeah.
But they are not setting up the team that way.
Of course
They're not.
When you have an offense that looks like this,
Their very first move in the draft.
how many
let
points
you know
did
that.
they average last year?
15.
I think, was it last in the NFL? I think it was.
I think it
17.
was close, but in
And
the
30
last
seconds?
5-6 weeks, they were like sub 10.
And it's hard to.
And they traded down, and their top 2 picks were defense. What does that tell you? Just look at the board. No, of course Kevin wants to win every game he coaches. Of course. Those players are out there busting their ass every week. They want to win every game that they play. But the way that tanking or gentleman's punt, whatever you want to do, the way that it's set up is when you manipulate the team so that you don't have the pieces that you need to compete. That's how you do it. And that's what they're doing. And it's okay. I'm sorry. It's okay. For 1 year,
It's only okay.
It's what you have to do.
Well, to be fair, Jason, I get what you're saying, but the Browns have done it twice in a decade
Yes,
now.
that's why it's not
which
okay.
no other team has done, and it didn't work the first
Yeah,
time.
that's why
and
it's
so
not
it's
okay.
okay if it works,
Yeah,
but there's no reason to
It is
believe
what
it
they're
will.
doing. And it's undeniable
They
at this
haven't
point.
done it since 2018. They spent 7
I
years
know
trying
that,
to
but-
win, and it didn't work. And Deshaun wrecked everything. That trade
Yes.
wrecked everything. They have no other choice than to go this route.
Agreed.
Yes.
No other choice makes sense. I've been telling you
Now-
guys for months. What is the plan? Where is the North Star? Where is the ship headed? They just showed you where it's headed.
And I agree with that. You've been saying it for a long time that that's what they should do. Here's the problem with that, and it's the point you brought up. If a team has to do that once every 15 years, I get it, even though some teams never do it. But if it has to be done to get to where you want to go, I'll walk through the coals.
Yeah.
I will, if there's paradise on the other side. But here's the problem. This fan base has walked through those coals.
I totally agree.
And there's not paradise.
Yeah.
And then we're in purgatory for a few years,
Yep.
and we're teased with what could be,
Yep.
and that's blown up. And then we're saying, okay, wash, rinse, repeat. Let's walk through those
Yep.
coals again. And the problem that I have with it is, it's the same regime that walked us through it last time, so
hear
I
ya.
have no confidence they're going to
That's
get
right.
it right this time.
I'm not pushing back on any of
I
that.
know.
You had 7 years. You had a 7-year contention window. You got 1 playoff win out of it.
Not enough.
They have, of course it's not. They have, when you look at the board though, when you look at the chess pieces and what they have and where they're at and the cap and the trade and all that, they had no other choice than to do what they've just done. It makes perfect sense when you look at it through that lens. It's like flailing around with Flacco and trying to compete and trying to piece this thing together. It doesn't make any sense. There's too many holes. It's not realistic. What they're doing is the way they have to go. Nobody likes it. I'm not sitting here at like, yes, they're going to suck next year. That's great. Nobody's saying that. You just have to be realistic about where they're at.
Well, the problem too is the Browns are a very cocky organization.
There is,
and there's this air of we know better than you and you don't know anything, and they've accomplished nothing. And I will say the frustrating part about that, yes, if you take your emotion out of it and just use your brain, what you're saying is absolutely right. Obviously, they got to get a quarterback.
Nobody wants to hear it, though.
But
I get it.
nobody wants to hear it.
totally get
And
it.
there is a percentage of the fan base, and maybe we don't spend as much time with these people because maybe they're not as diehard as the people that are sending us emails and stuff like that. But there's definitely a percentage of the fan base that I think we kind of ignore in the media where they're not thinking about the big picture all the time, right? And they just want to go to the game and see the team be competitive and have fun. I'm sure, the diehard Steeler fans that are on social media hate it that the Steelers are competitive every year, but they know they're going to lose in the first round. But I bet you there's a percentage of the Steeler fan base, a third, 40%, that is like, I got a fun team to watch every year.
And
I have
week
a
in and
friend
week out, too.
I have a friend who's not a diehard sports fan, but he's a Steelers fan. And he's like, yeah, I have fun watching them play every year.
I want to touch on one thing you said.
Yeah.
I know Mike wants to move on.
Yeah.
There's a buddy of mine, mid to late 60s.
Yeah.
He's done very well for himself in life, highly successful. Used to work for one of the teams in town in a corporate type role. Very invested in sports. And he texts me all the time. He said, I just wanted one Super Bowl before I die. And I'm never going to see it. And those are the people that I feel awful. I feel awful for those people. And when I sit here and say they have to tank and this is the way they have to go, I don't say that lightly. I don't say that flippantly because,
it's their only parachute right now.
It makes me sick for people who are in their mid to late 60s, who are closer to the end than they are the beginning, who are like, I've hung in there with this team. I've bought season tickets every year. Look what you've done to me. Look at all the money that I've wasted. My heart goes out to you guys, man. Like, truly, legitimately, it does. And yeah, it does feel like it's Groundhog Day and they're just rinse, repeat, and here we go again. But I don't see what the alternative is.
Because of their screw-ups. They have to keep...
I want to throw one more wrinkle into this equation because you're absolutely right. The older among us, and by the way, we're all closer to the end than we are at the beginning. Everybody on this panel. But
that's depressing.
You don't know. You may be the first to go.
That's true,
None
but
of us
depressing.
Jeez, that just got dark.
You don't know.
You're right.
I live my life every day. Could be my last.
You're right.
I don't know. We don't know.
You're right. Yeah.
Everyone should live it like it's their last. Here's the wrinkle that changes some of that. The motivation for this is for a billionaire to be able to get public funding to build a bigger toy.
Yep.
That's gross.
Yeah.
And it's coming at the expense of your golfing buddy.
Yeah.
It's coming. By the way, you astutely pointed out a couple of weeks ago, this city and this team has lost a generation of fans.
100% true.
So if you're going to tank again and it's going to be another 3 years before you are where you want to be, if you ever get there, those are more fans that you're going to lose forever. You're never going to get them on board. I have a nephew who is not a big football fan, more basketball, but I've asked him before, when you look around your school, what gear are you seeing? Give me a percentage. And he said, not Browns, I can tell you that.
That's my
and I said,
point.
okay, so what are we talking about? Like put some percentages on. He goes, maybe 10% Browns?
I will say this.
And then I said, okay, well, so 90% the other of the NFL? He goes, yeah. And he goes, if I had to pick what the predominant team represented is, it's the Steelers.
Yep.
Well, let's hope some of the players that drafted, not just the quarterbacks, but in the rest of the draft as well, can help turn this franchise around and get them back to winning. We're going to talk about those other guys, the non-quarterbacks, after a quick word from Epicor. Every team knows the value of hard work, of taking pride in what you build and practicing every detail to get the best results, but no one player, no matter how amazing, can do it all alone. Working together makes getting the win easier, and at Epicor, the all-stars are the hardworking manufacturers and distributors who create and deliver the things we all need, from aerospace to electrical to medical devices. Epicor ERP solutions are created by industry experts to help make every day easier. Seeing your whole supply chain is easier, managing logistics is easier, responding to price changes is easier. From small businesses with big dreams to growing enterprises with global visions, we'll equip you with the right tools to move forward, think ahead, and lead the way. Because as the clock ticks down, you need to make the most out of every hardworking minute. Easier doesn't cut corners, easier finds the lane. Discover your success today with www.easierwithepicor.com. G. Bush, to start the second round, you and I were on a live stream. The Browns reportedly rejected trade offers at number 33 to select All-American linebacker Carson Schwesinger. Nailed it out of UCLA.
There it is.
G, after, on the live stream, we had to do some research into who Carson Schwesinger is. Now that we've done some research, watch some tape. What are your thoughts on the Browns turning down offers to select this guy the All-American linebacker with the 33rd pick.
He has, for me, he gets a much better reaction from me than in the beginning. I'm gonna be honest with you, like what everybody talk about, they got big boards. I did not know who this guy was. I did not know that the Cleveland Browns were gonna take. I mean, if you would have said, when you start this process and say, all right, the first 2 picks of the Cleveland Browns will be a defensive tackle and linebacker, I would have told you you're crazy.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody has that on their board. However, when you go back and look, and like a lot of people say, coaches say it all the time, I'm not married to people, I'm married to the tape. So I had to go back. I pulled all of UCLA's tapes. Now, I didn't watch every single game, but I got to a lot of his games. And I must say, first and foremost, he's going to contribute on special teams day one. I'll just let you know that right now. You see him running down right here? He's a man-child when it comes to getting to the football. He runs down here. He was one of those guys that say he plays with his hair on fire. You could tell he is a walk-on because guys who on scholarship don't do this. Scholarship guys is not running down there busting wedges up. Nah, I'm cool, coach. I don't want to play on that. Second of all, very fast. He's instinctual, very fast, sideline to sideline. I like him in his pass coverage. Look at him blitzing right here. Now he's back in the coverage. Look, the fact that he gets his hands on a lot of football, reading the quarterback's eyes. He's a good blitzer. I think he needs to work on his strength a little bit more, functional strength in his legs, taking on blockers and shedding. But like we always said, JOK was one of those guys as well. You ain't supposed to be engaging with people no more. That's old school. I need you to be an athlete and run around them guys. I think this guy's going to be able to play. I think he's going to play a lot. And to be honest with you, he's probably going to be a day one starter. I don't know if he's going to be.
He better be 33rd pick.
Better be. I mean,
well, who do they have?
They got Bookie Watson. They signed Devin Bush back again, but I don't know if he's going to wear a green dot. But he's athletic. He's a little raw. He's only had 1 year production. He needs to work on some strength. But he's a guy that I could see getting back into some deep zones where he got the speed to get there, has some ability to read the quarterback's eyes, plays in space well. Looking at it at the time, in a vacuum, I didn't really like the pick because I felt like a linebacker that high could be a reach. But given the fact that the way the rest of the draft turned out to be, and looking at his tape, and figuring that JOK is not going to be. In my opinion, I've said it from get-go. I got neck injuries right now. I got 2 herniated discs in my neck right now, and I wake up and someday my left arm don't work, someday my right arm don't work. It's just it's hit or miss, and I don't tackle nobody for a living anymore. So, can you imagine him coming back having to put his helmet into a tackle doing that? It's just kind of tough. I think not just trade, but this pick shows where the Cleveland Browns are going to have to pivot and do some things.
Is he the new Joe Schobert?
I try not to make the same.
You're comparing one white linebacker.
Gotta compare the white linebacker.
Exactly where he went.
White
linebacker comparison.
Like, is that the Will?
The W ain't for Will.
That ain't for Will. White linebacker.
No, I think I love Joe Schobert.
Right. But yeah, listen, I like the pick. Like it.
I like it too. With you, I didn't hear his name a lot. I only watched UCLA play once this year.
Yeah.
He didn't jump off the screen because I didn't remember him. But like everybody, I went back and I watched his highlight tape. I saw the same things that you saw. To me, he looks a little undersized.
Well, JOK is too.
Yeah, I know he is.
I'm curious to put them next to each other because I looked it up. They're listed similar, 6'2", 220, 225.
I don't think he's that big.
Now that's the play. That's the play I like right there.
JOK definitely is not 6'2", 225. So I'll be curious to see if he really is or not.
I think, correct me if I'm wrong. I've always believed at linebacker, there are some great athletes that never made it in the NFL at linebacker. A lot of them played at Ohio State. Mm-hmm. And I always ask around, I'm like, what happened with this guy? He was such a great athlete. Oh, his measurables were off the chart. But this is what matters when you're a linebacker.
Yeah.
No football.
And this.
Yeah.
What do you see? Because if you don't see something, you can't react to it. Doesn't matter how fast you are.
Yeah.
You don't know that's where you're supposed to be. This guy, to me, seems to have an off-the-chart football IQ. I went back and watched a couple of plays, and I love being able to do it frame by frame. I would watch the moment that he made his commitment, and that's fun to watch when you're on the All-22 and you see the player commit one way. Then I rewind the tape just a little bit, and I go back, and now I start looking in the backfield, the offensive backfield, and I'm like, okay, what did he see? And how long did it take him to react to that? And in many cases, I couldn't even separate with my little slide bar on the video. It was almost like he was seeing it instantaneously as it was actually happening.
Yeah.
And to me, that's the other ingredient that all great linebackers absolutely have to have, and it's intuition. Oh, I felt the tight end break this way. I felt that. And so even before the quarterback commits to him, I know that he's going to an open zone. I'm going there too.
That part of the game is you can't teach. Like
you have it, right? Or you don't.
A lot of times these guys might not even grade out that well. Like I played with some guys who would just be like, "How did you know that ball was going there?" They're just like, "I just felt it. I was just there." They don't. He's not an ABC type dude. I think what they're going to do, what you set up for the defense right now, people say, how is this defense going to be better? How is this defense going to be improved? Well, Dalvin Tomlinson is not an upfield type guy. You got a guy that you look at with your first overall pick. When Mason Graham, he's lightning quick. He's going to be going forward. Mike Hall Jr. going forward. You already know what Myles Garrett is going to do. This guy is going to be one of those guys that's going to be moving forward. And Jim Schwartz wants guys moving this way. Not the sideways stuff. Forget we read on the way to the football. They're going forward and doing that.
Let me give you another comparison. Forget Joe Schober. How about DeQuell Jackson? He used to lead the league.
I'd love to know what DeQuell thinks about him.
He's involved with the team, so who knows?
Right.
He's a guy who DeQuell would lead the league in tackles all the time. This guy led all college football Division I in tackles. He's all over the place.
If he turns out to be in a ring of honor, he's slammed up.
Mike wants to move on real quick. The only thing I'll add, I don't care that they took him at 33. I actually kind of like it because, they had offers. Yeah, of course they could have moved down. Every team that has the 33rd pick could move down because every team has the overnight to look at their board and see who they like. You could say what you want about their evaluations of the past of the players. They told you, we like this guy. We're not going to screw around.
That's right.
We're not going to move back and risk the chance of losing him. We like him so much, we're going to stay right where we are, and we're going to take him. That's what I want out of draft evaluators is stand on a table and stand for something.
I'd love to know what DeQuell's role was, if any.
They were afraid he wouldn't even be there at 36 because they had 36.
Well, I mean, obviously they wanted a running back. They wanted both of those guys.
Yeah.
So
that's where we're going next.
So
you guys want to talk about
they stayed
these,
right where they were.
One last thought really quickly on that. I've talked about this on the show before. There is somebody that I speak with regularly that is involved, that is in the NFL, longtime guy in the NFL. He has said, I keep saying, what are the Browns missing? He's told me two things. First was they absolutely are lost in the soup when it comes to evaluating wide receivers in college. They cannot do it. Track record is there. The guys that they've selected,
look who they traded for.
Yeah,
Elijah Moore for it too.
I mean, they just so he said they clearly don't know. And he actually said, I'd love to know what they're using evaluating these guys because we don't have any metrics that showed any of these guys were going to be any good. And the other thing that he always would say is their devaluation of the linebacker position is too dramatic. So. He said because league-wide it's kind of been devalued. But he said the Browns have gone even deeper than that. They think you can just take three guys off the street, put them back there, and you'll be fine. And that hasn't worked out for us.
Nope. All right, we're going to get to the running backs. The Browns drafted two of them after a quick word from FanDuel. The NBA playoffs are here, guys. Cavs game 4 tonight, 7:30 on TNT. And if you haven't joined FanDuel already, they're giving new customers an incredible new way to get some bonus bet money. If you bet $5 and your first bet wins, you get $250 in bonus bets. Don't miss out. Head over to FanDuel.com/UCSS and claim your $250 in bonus bets today. G-Bush, the Browns took two running backs in this draft. Quinshon Judkins at 36, Dillon Sampson later on day 3. It's a little thunder-lightning combo. And is this the future now, the Browns running back room? What do you think of the pairing of those two with a little bit of a different skill set but pretty complementary to each other?
I like Judkins. Listen, once again, supreme competition. Which one of y'all want to start? We got room. We got positions open, dog. We got positions. Judkins, I like him. He's Kareem Hunt. It looks like now. First of all, let me backtrack on that. He does not catch the ball like Kareem Hunt. I think he has a little more longer speed, as you can see right here, running away from people to Kareem Hunt. Nose for the goal line. I like that a little more.
You talking about Chiefs Kareem Hunt or three-wheel Kareem Hunt now?
No. Now, listen, them 3 wheels be getting done sometimes.
You need 2 will get you 3. You need 4 will get you 3.
Hey, shout out to Kareem Hunt, man. This guy right here.
I hate that it's turned into that.
I hate that. That is That is what we know.
It's your own doing.
Listen, when he's down by the goal line, I love the way he runs through people. I love the way that he has a nose for the goal line. I love the way that he can make you miss as a big guy. I think he's about 220 pounds. This is where the Browns actually started to cook. Because what I was scared of was like, listen, man, we don't got running backs. We don't got receivers. We don't even got tight ends. I don't know. And they have Jerome Ford. I don't know what they're doing back there. This was the first pick that I said, oh, okay. Oh, we got some. You know how you be playing spades and you throw out the little spade and you thinking your king of clubs is gonna roll and somebody come and hit you with that spade, you be like, oh, okay. Y'all ain't got no clubs. Y'all cutting already.
Out of clubs that quick.
Quick you cutting. This was the first pick. I said, okay, Cleveland Browns, give me somebody I know. I know this man. I done seen him. It's familiar. It's like being in the 5th grade. You're going to 6th grade. You don't know nobody. You in middle school. You turn around and you see your boy Joe. You're like, oh, Joe, that's what's up. It's me and you. We got it. Yeah, I was excited. I love the Judkins.
Was Joe a real character or a fictional?
Shout out to Joe Shaheen.
Good. I was hoping he was real.
What about Sampson? Gee, I know he's the guy you talked about in the pre-draft forum that you really like too.
Hey, listen, no, then they came back. I said, these guys, the Browns are a little schizophrenic in the way they're picking. They took Dillon Gabriel and then took Dillon Sampson, and then I was mad, but then got excited again. Now this guy, he not playing around. 22 touchdowns this man had. Second team All-American. This guy has long speed. And for a smaller guy, he's a guy that can also move his pads around, has a nose for the end zone, but he has long speed. And I don't like the cliche. We got to come up with something. You guys do it. Put it in Chat GPT or something.
Yeah, but not Thunder and Lightning.
Not Thunder and Lightning.
No.
Nah, you got to be creative.
Got to be something different. But that's what they doing. Essentially, they got a back that can run between the tackles, run with power. They got another guy who has longer speed, still a guy that's quick and elusive. He's in open field. This was the best part of the draft to me because now, if Kevin Stefanski says he wants to get back to running the football, he actually took people that would play into that. You got a tight end. You got 2 running backs. Now I don't have to see Twinkle Toes no more. I don't have to see Jerome Ford dancing in the backfield.
They're going to be playing a lot of 12 personnel this year. They may play some 22 personnel this year.
They might.
We'll see with the 2 running backs.
Can we do 32?
Yeah.
Can we go 23?
If your team could do it, it might be the Browns this year. I actually, I obviously haven't been as big a running back guy as other people, but I actually like taking the 2 running backs. They needed to overhaul their running back room completely. Jerome Ford, is a fine backup, or now I think he'll be their 3rd running back. But I like that they got 2 different style of backs. I think Judkins is going to be the 1A.
I think Sampson is going to start.
I think
Judkins is the starter.
Yeah.
Be the 1.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. I meant 1A and 1B, but okay, 1 and 1A. So
that's always been tricky.
Yeah. But I think Judkins is going to be the main guy and the bell cow, and then we'll see the other guy. What's his name again? I forgot. Dillon Sampson. And he's going to come in and make some dynamic plays. Like he'll play on 3rd down. They'll give him, just to have these 2. What everybody think was an extremely deep running back class, 2 really talented running backs. From a backfield for the last 2 years with Chubb hurt, that's been devoid of talent.
Can Sampson? I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. Go ahead.
I meant to look this up.
Pretty good pass catcher.
No, kick returner.
I don't know. He's got speed. He's fast.
Has he ever returned kicks? Because I'll tell you, I'm not writing off Jerome Ford as fast as you guys are. I'd be fine if they do.
Yeah.
I think he's back on the team. I think Sampson's the 3rd.
Are you writing off the fact that Nick Chubb is not coming back?
He's definitely gone.
No, we need a moment of silence for Nick
Chubb is gone.
Dillon Sampson has returned 1 kick in his college career.
Well, I think he's about to return more.
I think Ford will be. I'm not saying they're moving on from Ford.
No, I'm not either.
I'm saying Ford's going to be the 3rd guy.
I agree, and I think Ford will be there for kicks, and I think he'll be the 3rd guy.
We'll see.
I think drafting 2 running backs. If they would have took 1, you could see maybe they got a little something for Nick. But you draft 2, that hits tough.
And to me, that was
1 got to play special teams.
Yeah.
That was the thing that was, and I don't want to say it was completely lost because as soon as they took Sampson, I said, well, I loved you, Nick.
Yeah,
you'll probably be a Chicago Bear or wherever, Pittsburgh Steelers, wherever he's going. It's not going to be Cleveland, and it's a shame. We're talking about all this other stuff that we really won't be able to give that its due. Do you like the 2 running backs? Did you weigh in on that yet?
Yeah, I liked it.
So you liked it?
I had no issue with it. Just talent. They just need talent.
Yeah.
Talent.
Yeah.
They're going to use 2-3 backs throughout the season. It's obviously different taking 2 running backs than 2 quarterbacks.
Yeah.
You're going to use all of these guys. I think Ford's 2 and Sampson's 3 right now. But
Okay.
we'll
Yeah,
see.
that'd be interesting to see. I think ultimately, it will go Judkins, Sampson, and then Ford. Ford's versatile with the kick return. Doesn't look like Sampson's done it a lot, but and who knows whether it's 2 or 3. I think the key is, I've been saying this for a while, that the NFL is cyclical. It was all about passing. I just think back to that Bills-Chiefs game. That was the epicenter. I think we've swung back the other way. Now, I'm never going to sit here and say that it's a running league. No. But what we've pivoted from is that it's a passing-only league. The Philadelphia Eagles won a Super Bowl. Bull always says, how many great running backs recently have done it? Well, last year, and I think that that's going to be a trend moving forward. I'm glad that the Browns are reprioritizing that position. This was the renaissance of the running back. This draft, one of the underreported headlines of this draft was the renaissance of the running back. Even Mel Kiper sat there, and Mel was always like, you're an idiot if you ever take one in the first round. These guys are all interchangeable. Mel was advocating 2 of them go in the first round, so he's pivoted on that. The last thing I want to say is that I think this was probably the best place to make it. In years past, I've looked at the Browns drafts, and I'm not going to name any specific year, but you get, Texas A&M Kingsville. That's an odd school.
Yeah, we talked about this before. Go ahead.
This is a blue blood draft,
Yep.
and that's what I most like about it. Really, with the exception of Fannin,
Which we're getting to next.
I know we are. That's why I decided to put this here. With the exception, Fannin is from the least power school. And Fannin led all pass catchers in receiving yards and I think receptions. And he did it against Penn State and Texas A&M.
Yep. Awesome against them.
Both on the road and played very well. So what I love that about this class is that we went blue blood. There's Ohio State. There's Michigan. There's players from proven programs that have played in front of 100,000 fans. They know what pressure is, and I think that will bode well for this team.
The next question, Mike, is will Fannin now become the most famous Bowling Green alum, passing Jay Crawford in the state of Ohio?
Oh, trust me, I'm
We're
not
going
in
to
the
ask
top
that in
50,000.
1 second after a quick word from Buckeye State Credit Union. If you're unfamiliar with them, let me introduce you to the financial friend you didn't know you needed until right now. Buckeye State Credit Union is a local brand offering a wide range of products, from checking accounts to home equity lines of credit and auto loans. They have some of the lowest rates around and are committed to serving Northeast Ohio. Their Cleveland location is in Shaker Heights, but they have 5 brick-and-mortar locations across the state. Buckeye State Credit Union is here to help make your life easier. They make banking more convenient, always putting the customer first, so you leave feeling cared for, valued, and respected. Connect, simplify, and adapt. Those are the core values that make Buckeye State Credit Union the right choice for you. For more information, head over to buckeyecu.org. Buckeye State Credit Union, your money simplified. Jay, I'll start with you on Harold Fannin, because when we did our which mid-round tight end do you want most for the Browns, you selected the Bowling Green product. The Browns drafted him with the 67th overall pick. Is this low-key your favorite pick of the whole draft?
It is. It's not going to be the most impactful, but I think it was round appropriate. He was properly placed. I heard from some folks over the weekend that there were a lot of teams across the league that let out a sigh of disappointment when he came off the board. I don't know that the Browns have done that a lot, but this was a guy that was coveted because he played so well against, if you go back and you look at the Penn State game, Penn State was on the ropes in the fourth quarter.
Oh, they was out of here.
They were on the ropes, G.
They was out of here.
And the reason they were on the ropes is because they had no answer for this guy. This is a good Penn State defense on a team that made it to the playoffs and won a game in the playoffs, and they had no answer for Fannin. Now, they sort of solved the dilemma in the fourth quarter, which is why they took the lead and won the game. The next week, they're on the road at Texas A&M, and he duplicates the performance.
Yeah.
And what was most impressive to me about that, I don't think Tech had the personnel that Penn State did, but they had the tape.
Yeah.
They watched it, and they saw what Penn State did to finally bracket him and take him out of the game plan, and they didn't have the horses to stop him.
They had nothing for this dude. Shout out, first of all, if he eclipsed my man Jay Crawford as the most well-known Bowling Green alum, he got me out of here for the most well-known McKinley.
McKinley, right?
Try to get me
This
up
should
out
this
here.
is our guy, G.
This is-
Hey, I'm in the boat because he's now the most famous July 20th birthday guy. He and I share the same birthday. Harold and I have the
That
same
is
birthday.
awesome.
Harold Fannin is just going to be that guy. Now, listen, here's what I get excited about is they would put this dude in Wildcat. They had him getting the Bowers reverses. Remember I said, if you let a tight end get a reverse on you, you need to be shot.
Yeah, but he won't do that in the NFL.
He won't.
The MAC defenses are a little different than the NFL.
Kevin
defenses.
Stefanski has been what? Listen, I can tell him just sitting down watching tape and be like, you know what we can do with that? You know what we got alive for this? I love it because guess what? The 2 tight end sets is alive and well. He's not that. Now, mind you, blocking is a work in progress, just like David Njoku was. But here's what you see: if you do get Flacco who starts, you're going to see some play action, and some guys going to be open. Some people's going to be open out there.
By the way, you guys think you have all these connections. Little known thing, but I'll share it with you right now. I was going to save this for later, but you guys are bragging about you. 10 years ago. 10 years ago this week, Harold Fannin and I both won a pizza eating championship. I won in the senior division. He won in the kids
We
division.
should adopt him
It was
as our favorite
unbelievable.
Brown.
Hey, listen,
That's right.
I mean, we all have a connection to this guy.
And I'm willing, listen, if the Kenton McKinley Hall of Fame is listening, I am willing to vote to waive his probation period needs to be waived.
What is the waiting period? 10 years for high school?
You at least got to get a job first. Like,
Okay.
They wait till you're
Right.
done.
Done.
They're like, oh, where you working at? I'm over at Toyota down there, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Come over by the shop. Harold Fannin Jr. should get that waived immediately.
Yeah.
Put him in the Hall of Fame. Bush stamps it.
When's the last time the Browns had 2 tight ends that could be a major factor in the passing game?
Well,
Harrison Bryant did win the Mackey.
yeah, he did.
Yeah.
He didn't pan out, but we thought he was going to be a very good
I
receiver.
mean, but he did have a lot of quarterbacks.
Okay, well, he didn't. I'm saying we don't know that Harold Fannin will.
I think
What's the most yards Harrison Bryant had in college?
You can ask that about any team.
I mean, quite a few. He won the Mackey Awards.
we had-
the only team I can think of was
We
the
did-
New England Patriots that had 2
Right.
that were legitimate threats at the
Right.
same time.
No, when they
Usually
had
Gronk
them-
and Hernandez.
Harrison
Now,
Bryant, his final season at over 1,000 yards at that.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's hard
Okay.
to believe because that guy stinks.
Hooper, they drafted Hooper. Hooper and the Joker.
They signed him as a free agent.
They signed Hooper as a free
Yeah, but
agent.
Hooper was terrible
We
when he
just
came
didn't know
in.
was
Hooper
trash.
couldn't run.
Hooper fell down every time.
Oh my God!
Tripped every time
Tripped
he
would
ran
just
well.
fall down.
Yeah.
Somebody has to figure out what was
3rd
going
and
on.
8, throw it 6 yards, and he falls down.
Something happened to him along the
something.
way because once upon a time he was
For
a
the Falcons,
solid tight
I was
end,
like,
and he got here and he forgot how to run.
We rejoiced.
I loved that signing at the
We
time.
rejoiced.
I did
Yeah.
too. I thought he was going to change our world.
And that's normally when you go 12 personnel, it's one's a pass catcher and one's a blocker.
Yeah.
Right.
And I mean, Njoku's improved drastically as a
Drastically
blocking
blocking.
tight
Yeah.
end than when he first
A lot
got
of college
here.
tight ends don't know how to block.
Yeah, and maybe Fannin will get better as he goes. But you have 2 pass catching tight ends, so I mean, listen, they've done it before. It's just curious because normally one of them is not really a pass catcher; he's more of a blocker. And the other thing about Fannin, he's 20 years old. That's the same age Njoku was when they got him.
I
They're
love that
young,
about
young.
Yeah.
Think
And
about this.
Njoku's a free agent at the end of this year,
Yeah.
so
That's why when you give
Yeah.
out grades, we don't know what they're going to be. The one thing that you want to get is talent and young talent. So Mason Grimm is a starter.
Mm-hmm.
The linebacker Schwesinger, starter.
Yep.
I mean, we assume he better be.
Judkins,
Yeah.
starter. Samson is going to play.
Yeah.
And Harold Fannin Jr. is going to play. That's
Yeah.
5 guys that you should be looking for in the press guy. Like, I need to see this guy play, and they'll get minutes. These are
Now,
guys that
in fairness, whoever they drafted is going to play because they're not very good.
And 4 of those 5 were picked 67 or higher, so
right,
you should
right.
play.
So they should.
Yeah.
And that does lead. I mean, yes, I'm telling you, they're punting on the season. They're going to be terrible. They're going to lose a lot of games. They should at least be somewhat fun to watch because there's young guys and there's hope again, and you're trying to see where this goes.
Did you see the eye roll of hope?
Well, because I get sick of saying it. I get sick of saying it.
And you know what?
It's better than last year.
Let's-
Last
let's-
year was a
intrigue.
death
There's
march.
And by the way, guys, you know, if one of these quarterbacks turns out to be a good player, obviously, I would hold it our
changes
breath.
everything.
It changes everything, and then maybe you drafted a certain wide receiver out of Ohio State next year if you get a high pick.
He can't.
He's
No,
still
he's
a
got
year
2
away.
years.
Oh, he's got 2 more years?
He's got 2 more years.
Hey, somebody get Maurice Clarett on the line.
Killed
and sue
me
the
on that.
NFL. Listen,
What a
come
joke.
On. I mean, come on in, man.
Maurice won his
I
lawsuit.
know he
It was
did.
overturned on appeal.
Listen,
The
The
worst.
NFL has some people positioned in very high places.
Well, but the point still stands. Just because the plan might have been for a quarterback, maybe that changes, and then you have options to do
and
other
that
things.
should be thrown out there.
The
Because
worst thing is if one of them is just good enough to make you think.
No, you don't
maybe
want to
there's
be in quarterback
something there.
purgatory.
Yeah.
Just like so, then they pass, and then
Right.
Yeah.
Like, that's the worst case.
It's the Jimmy Clausen, Cam Newton.
like at least if you're going to be good, be great. If you're going to be bad, be terrible. So that there's no in
Right.
between.
You're right.
Because
But you're either going to play enough to know that.
I know.
So,
Like,
yeah.
it's sort of a fire drill. You got 17 games, and you want to see all these guys. I mean, not Joe. I don't. I want to see Pickett and the two kids. Throw them out there and see. What
I have
they
no
got.
interest in seeing Pickett either. I just want to see these two guys.
I listen. I'm gonna tell you what they did what they were supposed to do. They gave you now. It's a dangerous game you're playing now. You know how many. I was gonna say this earlier, but this is a better time. Do you know how many people hit me up, McNuggets? I mean hundreds. Like literally in my email or DM on Twitter, and hundreds of people said, "I've never watched college football. I've never watched the Browns a day in my life. I am now a Browns fan because of Shedeur Sanders."
Yeah,
Shedeur
has.
I have
that are
never.
Shedeur fans,
I don't
not
even.
necessarily of a team.
I don't watch football. People are like, I don't watch football, but now I got season tickets to the Cleveland Browns. I said, what? That is crazy. See, the Browns are my favorite team. Hundreds, bull. I said, oh,
More viewers. Love it.
we're gonna see how this
probably a
turns
reason
out.
that
Yeah.
they haven't been football.
By
fans.
the way, if you're interested, live tomorrow at 9 a.m. for my podcast, Greg Cosell joins me. We'll get his breakdown on all of the Browns
Oh,
picks.
Greg's awesome.
very nice.
Awesome.
We had Greg on. He was awesome. We'll try to get him back on because I'm curious what he thinks on
Yeah.
some of these guys. We got to get Cavs in here real quick because Joe Thomas is joining us in 5 minutes. We're going to make our Game 4 predictions after a reminder that today's episode is brought to us by Living for We. On this season of Living for We, we're asking what can be done to end cycles of violence in cities like Cleveland where the shooters value their reputation over their own lives and see innocent bystanders as collateral damage. Living for We is more than just a podcast. It's a resource for communities tired of chaos and ready to build peace. The mission is simple. Empower communities to create safer neighborhoods free from gun violence by highlighting the local heroes, connecting resources and solutions, and building bridges through honest, community-driven dialogue. Join hosts Marlene Harris-Taylor and Maisha Watkins every other Tuesday for a new episode of Living for We. Keep your head up. You can find this award-winning show wherever you get your podcasts, and you can watch full episodes by searching for Living for We on YouTube. Jason, Game 4 tonight. Cavs going for the sweep. Will they get the 4-0 clean sweep of the Miami Heat?
Going for the sweep and under the radar.
Oh, it's over. Yeah.
I know it's 12-26.
What they did Saturday was so unbelievably impressive.
Oh,
To
my
be
God.
Without Darius and to hammer Miami the way. Listen,
And Donovan had a terrible game. He couldn't shoot.
I said before the series, I thought it was going 5 and maybe even 6. I thought for sure Miami would get 1. They didn't get
Over.
one. This is
No.
over.
Yeah, I agree. Does
I-
anybody
no,
think
y'all.
they'll win a game, Miami?
No.
What's that?
Does anybody think Miami
No,
will
no.
win
Mike
Game 4
was right.
tonight?
Mike said
Yeah.
before the series they don't have enough scoring to keep up with the Cavs, and he was 100% right.
Yeah, they don't.
And that's a credit to the way that the Cavs defend and the way that they can score when they get going. I had the Cavs on one TV and the Guardians on the other. I turned off the draft entirely when the Shedeur thing happened, but I couldn't believe what I was watching with how well the Cavs played. And I thought, for whatever reason, that's the game that felt like they really exposed Miami's lack of size. And I don't know if it was the Darius component or what, but Jared Allen, I tweeted, looked like he was dunking on CYO kids.
Hey, bro, he was out here. He looked like he was Mike himself. Jared Jordan coming down the lane. I said, this dude got a lean. He tried to lean a little bit. I said, this is unacceptable.
Remember Adam
Unacceptable.
Sandler and Billy Madison when he's like swatting the kids on the playground?
Yeah.
Yes.
That was Evan and Jarrett in that game.
Out of everybody, you can't let when Jared Allen is getting highlights, it's over. You
mean-
might as well quit because he's not even supposed to be getting a rock like that. Look at this.
Yeah.
And 8 of them field goals, half was dunks.
Yeah, it felt like they really did a nice job of attacking the rim with their bigs. They really exposed the size difference in this game, and they just absolutely waxed Miami. And good on them, man. Like we said it before, get off your feet, get rid of them.
Yep.
Move on, get off your feet, and sit back and wait. It looks like it's going to be.
The other thing I love about it is they made a statement. Like,
Oh, for sure.
No one. This could be the only sweep, right? Is anybody else in line?
Yeah,
to
Boston
sweep?
lost
OKC
one.
No.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
OKC.
yeah, you're right. OKC.
They made a statement too.
OKC, but they made a statement in the game that they almost lost. because they were down by 26 and came back to win.
Yeah.
That was a slam dunk sweep. But it's interesting that the two sweeps would be the ones and the eights.
Yeah.
Has anyone checked on Tyler Hero, first and foremost?
Yeah, they made him look bad. How about Max Strus? Give him a little love. 18 points, 9 boards, 5 assists.
Went home and said, take that.
Hey, let me say something. You know, I was talking about Darius Garland earlier, right? But let me talk about Max Strus. You know how I feel, Max. We had a conversation in my head, only in my head. And I told you that you was going to have to get out of the starting line. But I'm going to tell you something, bro. You keep balling like this, we just going to have to wait and see, bro, because you have been balling. This series, last game, he was pulling up and people in his face, no, that's ain't good. I don't know if it was you was back in Miami doing your thing, but Max Strus has been balling. 9 rebounds, 5 assists, McNuggets. Listen, the Backstreet Boys is killing. You saw what Ty Jerome did, 13 and 11. We got and this is rare in the NBA. We can do a starting lineup with all 5 white guys and be competitive.
Wow. That is rare in the NBA.
So real quick around the horn, because we got Joe in the
Who's
queue.
playing in the middle?
American white guys.
Everyone's taking the Cavs tonight. Clean sweep.
Yeah.
Yeah, we should be talking about Indiana and how they match up. But
Well,
by the way,
aren't they a 3-0?
We'll have plenty
I know
of time.
Joe's in the queue. I want to get this out there because I think it's a great suggestion. Steve, our executive producer, just texted in a potential nickname for, I think it was Steve that sent it.
Rock and roll.
Rock and roll. I kind of like that.
Not bad.
I kind of like that. It's Cleveland after all.
That ain't bad.
Rock and roll.
Well, while I'm doing the ad read to bring in Joe, think of that, and we'll ask Joe Thomas what he thinks about it in 1 sec. But Joe Thomas today is brought to us by Epicor. Every team knows the value of hard work, of taking pride in what you build, and practicing every detail to get the best results, but no one player, no matter how amazing, can do it all alone. Working together makes getting the win easier, and at Epicor, the All-Stars are the hardworking manufacturers and distributors who create and deliver all the things we need, from small businesses with big dreams to growing enterprises with global visions. We'll equip you with the right tools to move forward, think ahead, and lead the way, because as the clock ticks down, you need to make the most out of every hardworking minute. Easier doesn't cut corners. Easier finds the lane. Discover your success at www.easierwithepicor.com. And with that, we are thrilled to welcome in my best friend in the world, the one and only, Joe Thomas. What's up, Joe?
What's up, McNuggets? I'm glad that nickname is stuck, and they'll be calling you McNuggets when they put you 6 feet under. And I'm just so proud that I was the one that was able to spark such an amazing nickname that is completely irrelevant to anything about you, but that's the best part of the nickname.
It's legendary for sure.
It had to be fun for you. Obviously, you're announcing the picks as a representative of the Browns, but of course, you're going home, being in front of all those. Did we lose Joe?
He's still
still
on
there?
his phone, so if he gets a text,
all right.
Can you hear me?
out, so.
We got you. So,
There we go.
Yeah, obviously you got to be, in front of the home fans in Wisconsin, so that had to be extra special for you,
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, those are the guys and gals that I played in front of in college. And I grew up a Packer fan. I mean, you grow up in Cleveland, you're a Browns fan. You grow up in Wisconsin, you're a Packer fan. So even though I'm not cheering for them anymore, just the idea of being outside of Lambeau Field, which I don't care who you ask, even if they didn't grow up in Wisconsin, everyone says, hey, what's the best away game you play? It's always Lambeau Field. It's the oldest stadium in the NFL. It's got the history. Obviously, Vince Lombardi, the trophy that we're all playing for every year, the stadium, the NFL championship trophy is named after him. And so when you're there, you just get that feeling of the history of the NFL and the emotion that surrounds the draft and all the other teams, fans that are showing up there, and 200,000 people from the city of Green Bay and surrounding areas. It was just a really, really special moment. And then my son got to be up there and announce the pick with me. So it was an amazing, amazing scene.
Joe, I was like you. I'm a big guy. I like the big guys. I like the guys in the middle. I like defensive line, offensive line. You said you would prefer, you said, hey, what's the pick? You said Travis Hunter. I think you might have took it a little better than me. I cried that night. It's gone viral. I was not happy. As we look back on it, I'm okay with the draft. They did their thing. What was your thought originally when they passed on Travis Hunter? And do you see it as a better move now with the totality of the draft behind us?
Yeah, I think my disappointment was a little bit along the lines of probably most Browns fans is, in my mind, I already saw Travis Hunter in the orange helmet.
Yep.
With the Hunter on the back of his jersey, and I was going to get my son the jersey, right? So it's like that Christmas present that you've already thought about all the million ways you're going to use them. And so there's a disappointment involved, but I think as time passes and you realize it was the right move, and you look at what they were able to get for that second pick, I mean, they completely dominated the draft trade value board, and they were still able to get and address their number one need with Mason Graham on the defensive line. And to be able to pair Mason Graham with Myles Garrett, that makes me pretty happy too. That's a good Christmas gift by itself.
Joe, we have to get your thoughts on the whole Shedeur Sanders thing, the fact that no one took him until the 5th. He slid, and then the Browns finally jumped in there after taking a quarterback in the 3rd round. They took him in the 5th. What are your thoughts on drafting 2 quarterbacks and your quick assessment on Shedeur Sanders?
Well, I know that they didn't plan on drafting 2 quarterbacks. Obviously, they already had a bit of a full room, and knowing you'd take one and then now you take another one. But I think it was just such a good value where they were able to draft him, even though they didn't have him rated higher than Dillon Gabriel. I think when you look at Dillon Gabriel, he was a great quarterback in college, and there's a lot of question marks about does that skill set translate to the NFL game? Well, they'll find out pretty quick. I mean, once he goes through OTAs, minicamp, and a little bit of training camp, you'll see very quickly, this guy's got that intangible that overcomes any of those limitations with height and athleticism and arm strength, kind of like a Russell Wilson did or like a Drew Brees did. Or you're going to find out pretty quick, the guy can't do it. And so I think you get a decision very quickly on Dillon Gabriel. And so that was part of what led him to say, you know what, let's take a flyer on Shedeur Sanders too, because when he's out there, you're also going to get a really good read on if this guy's somebody who can be a starting quarterback. And if you're able to get a starting quarterback in the later rounds of the NFL draft, that's just a tremendous value, because as we saw with Deshaun Watson, if you're going to pay market value for a starting quarterback, I mean, you're paying not only 35, 40 million of the salary cap, but usually you have to use a high first round draft pick. So I think it was great value, and they'll find out really quickly if these guys and the games that they bring to the NFL will be able to translate in spite of some of their physical limitations.
Joe, I'm really glad you said that, because I was thinking back. I remember Kyle Shanahan did an interview the year that they traded up and took Trey Lance, and then they also had Brock Purdy. And it was somewhere in training camp where Kyle was aggravated walking off the field, and he told the owner, the best quarterback on the field is the 7th round kid that we took last. And he said, I probably should have said that at the time, but it was true. When will they know if Shedeur Sanders is going to be on this football team? When will Kevin know?
Yeah, I think they'll know pretty quick in training camp. I mean, it was really obvious when guys would show up after we drafted them if they were going to have a chance and they were going to be contributors really quickly. And you knew the same thing on the other side of it. We've had plenty of guys, even first-round picks, that show up and you're like, he's not going to be able to make
names.
It. Names.
Names.
I'm not going to name names.
Does he have to? I don't think he has to. I think we know.
Yeah, we've got 5 or 6 of them we can throw at you.
Yeah, exactly. When they show up, or maybe when they don't show up to the first meetings that are mandatory, you're like, okay, this is supposed to be our quarterback? I don't think this is going to work out. Very quickly. And so I think that's the great thing, about that position. And it's part of the reason Shedeur slid, right? There's only a few teams that need a quarterback. And if somebody deems that, there's something wrong with him, or they don't really like him at the top half of the draft, like a Pittsburgh or a New Orleans, because they don't think maybe his style or his size or maybe his arm strength fits with what they want to get done, there's nobody else that's going to move and take him, because that quarterback, you're not going to be able to move him to another position. It's not like Lamar Jackson. Obviously, he's become one of the greatest quarterbacks in the NFL, but coming out, people were willing to take a first-round pick on him, even though he slid, because they said, well, if we can't play him at quarterback, he's this fantastic athlete, we'll find a way to get him on the field. Yeah. Similar to the way you would say about an offensive lineman. You take a tackle, hey, maybe it doesn't work out, put him at guard, put him at center. You can find a way where he contributes to the team. But at quarterback, you either are the starter or maybe a backup, or you can't do it, and then he's not going to be in the league. So I think they'll find out really quickly, and it really makes our job in the preseason a lot more exciting, right? Because we're going to be evaluating a lot of quarterbacks, and there's going to be conversations every single day about how Shedeur Sanders is doing and how he's adapting. And I think when you get a guy like that who maybe needed to get humbled a little bit in the late rounds, he's humbled really quickly, and he's walking in with his head down and his eyes open and his mouth shut, and he's just looking to prove himself with that additional chip on his shoulder. And so I think we got him obviously at the right point of the draft, but also I think with him sliding, he gets humbled a little bit, and he's going to come in ready to work.
So how does Kevin juggle this now? And for the sake of this, let's just assume it's mystery veteran X, whether it's Flacco or Pickett, and then the 2 rookies. I don't know if it's going to work out that way or not, but they just invested draft capital in these guys. Clearly, it feels like they were telling you we're going to go find our quarterback in 2026. So you have a finite window to figure out what you have in these guys. How do you operate this, and how do you juggle this and make sure you get a clear answer on these guys so that you know by the end of the season what you have in that room?
Yeah, it's really tricky. Obviously, you only have so many reps for quarterback, and assuming Joe Flacco is probably going to be the starter, at least on the depth chart to start the season. What you're going to do, the benefit of having Joe Flacco being an experienced vet is he doesn't have to take every rep with the ones to be up to speed. Like you saw, we picked him up mid-season and he was ready to go. So obviously you want to get the rust off. You want to get him comfortable with the other receivers, but he'll be able to split first team reps right away with those other guys. And so I think what happens is you end up kind of splitting second team reps between Kenny Pickett, Gabriel, and Sanders. And then also in that rotation of those 3 backups, they're going to get reps with the first team when Flacco's on the sidelines. So you're going to get a little bit extra first team look at these guys because you do have that entrenched veteran who doesn't need quite as many reps. But then also in training camp, they're going to really want to make sure that they get a lot of 7-on-7 periods because you can get a lot of reps at quarterback. You can split up the field where you got 2 fields going at once. So the first group's going on one field, the second group's going on the other field. And you can really rotate 2 guys in each group. So you are getting a lot more repetitions to get looks at those guys outside of just what you're getting in those team periods.
Joe, let's play fill in the blank. There's a saying that says if you have 2 quarterbacks, you have none. If you have 4 quarterbacks, you have blank.
A bounty of riches and an exciting training camp filled with drama. That's
Joe,
all I want.
I love that.
Joe, do you take it as a personal insult that they did not draft any offensive linemen?
Well, it wasn't a personal insult, but I thought it would have been nice to draft a lineman. Certainly because you look at our O-line, we feel good about it, but DeJuan Jones has had injury concerns, obviously Jack Conklin, and, Joel's getting older, and, you got a lot of aging guys on your line that are going to need to be replaced. And today's line play in the NFL, I think it takes a couple years for most guys to get up to speed and to be ready to go play NFL snaps. And ideally, if I was looking at a draft, I would say, hey, every year I want to take a couple mid to late round draft picks at the offensive line position, and you start developing them, and after a year or 2 you realize, okay, yeah, they can play, or no, they can't, and then you find somebody else. It's almost like the strategy that Mike Holmgren used to have at quarterback. He would always take a mid-round flyer at quarterback because he knew how long it takes to develop those positions and how valuable it is if you're able to find somebody in those mid to late rounds, and that's kind of the way I feel about O-line.
Joe, did Joel Bitonio reach out to you when he was making his decision? And either way, were you surprised how it ended up turning out?
We did talk, and he's been a friend. I leave him alone for the most part during the season, but in the off season we usually try to get together. And I love the guy, and candidly, I told him when we were talking, I'm like, hey, I'm not going to try to convince you one way or the other, but as a good friend of yours who played next to you for a long time, who's now retired, like, play as long as you possibly can. Like, if I could still play, if the knees were willing, I would be, because there's nothing in life that will give you so much purpose and satisfaction and paycheck as the NFL. And when it's over, it's easy. And I had the same conversation with Lane Johnson this offseason. I said, when it's over forever. Like, you never have a chance to go back and say, no, I think I want to play some more. Like, it's done. And it's 1 year of your life. He's coming off of a really hard season. It was hard for everybody that was a Browns fan or a player. And that taste is in your mouth, and it's like, man, I don't want to go through that same thing again. I hope we're better, but I also don't want to go through it. And you think about the toll that a season takes on your body. But if you're healthy enough to do it, like, it's 1 year of your life and you got the rest of your life to reflect back on it. And the last thing you want to ever do is think, man, I wish I would have just played one more season. I had it in me and I could have done it, but it's that regret that you'll have to live with for the rest of your life. If you ever sit there in retirement, you say, I wish I would have played one more. I was lucky that I couldn't play anymore, and I've never had that feeling of, oh man, I should have played another season, because I just knew I couldn't. My body was not willing. And the other thing I shared with Joel is, like, if you're wavering and you think you might or you don't want to play, and you're kind of going back and forth, like, to me that means you can. You know, you're ready to retire when every bone in your body and every person in your life is saying it's time to retire. Then you know it's time to retire. It's kind of like being injured. I always thought to myself, like, I'll know when I'm too injured to play when it's without a doubt in my mind. If I'm wondering, I don't know, I think I can do it, like, you can do it. And I think it's the same thing about going back and playing.
Great insight.
I mean, that's a great segue.
Yeah.
I mean, when the heck did you know you needed a hip replacement, Joe? Like, it wasn't like we was asking you all the time, like, can you come back and play? Did you kind of, like, little do they know, this hip over here is not good at all. How was the procedure? How you healing up? And you know, when did you know, like, yeah, I might get this taken care of?
Yeah, so I'd had hip problems, you know, playing, but that's really common for any lineman, certainly. But actually, I thought it was my back that was giving me issues. When I was living in Germany and I was coaching, like, I got to the point during the season where I would wear 2 back braces, and I would bring a chair out to practice to be able to sit because I couldn't stand. And I had these back spasms that were going on for months and months. And I kind of thought it was a back issue. And then when I got back to the States, I went to go see the Browns docs and got an MRI and visited with Dr. Voos and Dr. Salata. And they were like, your hip is in really bad shape. And I'm like, you know, thinking maybe we can resurface it or do something. And they're like, there's really nothing we can do. You've got a cyst on one side, you're bone on bone on the other side, and your labrum's torn completely all the way around. And they said, you know, the injuries that you got in the hip is actually what's causing probably the back problems. And it made perfect sense, right? Even though I have, like, bulging discs in my back, that's common, and I probably had them since college. And so it was amazing. As soon as I took care of the hip, like, I haven't had one back issue whatsoever. And and already I'm like, man, I'm so happy. And I'm up walking around. I'm at the farm today working with my cattle. So, like, I feel like it was a great decision. I'm only a month out.
Wow.
That's awesome.
Beautiful, man.
Joe, I want to take you back to a dark period now. You went through 1-31, and we were talking earlier on the show about, like, it feels to me like this is a transition season. You can call it gentleman's punt. You can call it tank, whatever you want. You saw how bad their offense was last year, and they traded down from 2, and their top 2 picks were on the defensive side of the ball. They are not trying to win this year. They are trying to get a quarterback for next year is how I'm reading it. If I'm wrong, correct me on that. And if I'm right, how difficult is that as a player in the locker room? And by the way, I think it's the right decision. But as a player in the locker room who's going out there and competing, you mentioned Joel earlier, and you mentioned he knows what he's signing up for. It can't possibly be as bad as last year. How do you reconcile that in your mind when you're trying to compete and win as many games as you can, but maybe not necessarily everyone in the organization is feeling the same way?
I think most teams in the NFL, when they look at their chances of success or failure, and certainly from a management level, when you're thinking, all right, how much of our resources do we want to commit to this year? Because there's a rule with the NFL collective bargaining agreement and the salary cap that excess salary cap that you don't spend this year, you can roll it over into following years, right? It's what we did in that 1-31 stretch to be able to save salary cap space to hopefully sign guys when you do get that franchise quarterback. And you do need that extra cap space. And it makes total sense to not want to go all in if you don't have a quarterback. And clearly, you know, that's the decision that they've made because we don't have that long-term franchise quarterback yet. And it is a tough decision, but it is the right decision because it's foolish to go all in when you have question marks at the quarterback position. So as a player, it's challenging a little bit. But I think also when you've got a guy like Flacco, it brings a lot of calm to the players, knowing that, hey, this guy can still play. Like when he was with us last time, a couple years ago, he played really good football and he had us in the playoffs and, you know, didn't play his best game, so we lost. But like he gives you enough hope, I think, that if you're looking at our defense and you say, hey, if they can be the defense that we had 2 years ago and be the number one defense in the NFL, we got a chance in every game, right? And if we can take care of our part on offense, and hopefully with some of these additions at running back and the new tight end, like you're thinking and you're talking yourself into, okay, our offense can at least be middle of the pack. And with a number one overall defense, like teams have won the Super Bowl with that formula before. And so I think it's not as hopeless as the situation was when we went that 131 stretch.
Sure.
Is there any way we can get McNuggets one of those Hall of Fame beef shirts you're sporting?
Yeah, baby, absolutely.
he'd fill that
I can
up
send
well.
you guys some sticks. Yeah, he'd look good in this Hall of Fame beef shirt. I know that. But he looks good in everything, so let's be honest.
Yeah, today he's wearing a little, I think, what is that, Emerson
yeah.
women's basketball shirt?
Emerson soccer today.
Okay.
Repping all the sports.
All right.
All right.
Yeah.
Equal
I
opportunity.
think he'd fill out that Hall of Fame beef for
I thought
sure.
it said beer.
No, I said beef.
No, Hall of Fame beef. Hey, Joe, before we let you go, this is the silliest exercise in all the
There we go.
sports, and
There we go.
we had to participate. So I'll ask you, do you have an overall grade for the Browns draft?
I give them a B. Like I think they did a really good job with value at the picks that they took. They addressed their need at defensive tackle. They were able to pick up additional picks, including next year, which I think the value of those was really good. And understanding that next year's quarterback draft is a lot better, so you may need some additional ammo if you identify a guy and you go through this season and Shedeur or Dillon Gabriel or maybe even Kenny Pickett, which I don't think so, but if any of those guys that are with you don't identify as the quarterback of your future, you got that ammunition to get what you need next year, which is great. I think I would have liked to see them draft an offensive lineman.
Yeah.
And how the draft unfolded, you can't always control, but the fact that you got Dillon Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders, I'm sure they're wishing that Gabriel pick could have been used on maybe an offensive lineman, maybe a safety, somebody like that, maybe a receiver. But the draft doesn't always unfold the way you expect, clearly. And so I do like the value that they got with Shedeur Sanders because he might turn into a legitimate starter for us, and you got him in the 5th round.
Yeah.
Very quick, Joe. Abdul Carter asked Lawrence Taylor to use his number. I think he's out of line even asking that question, in my opinion. I think he's completely out of line to ask that question. What say you?
Yeah, I think it was interesting. Share a little story with you. So when Jed Wills got drafted, I was kind of helping him around, and it was during COVID, and he asked me for my number, and I was a little caught off guard, but I'm like, hey, if everybody in the building is okay with it, I wasn't going to be like, no, it's my number. Leave me alone. But Kevin Stefanski stepped in, and he was like, hey, pump the brakes, big boy.
Yeah,
you got to do a few things, put some pump on the wall in the NFL before you have his number.
That is a great story. I've never heard it.
Hope that Lawrence doesn't have to be the bad guy, and that Brian Dable steps in as like, okay, why don't you have a sack in the NFL before you get
right.
Lawrence Taylor.
Wow. Oh my
That's great.
God.
I'm glad I asked you that. Thanks, Joe.
We just made some news.
Yeah.
Joe, it's always great to have you on. We appreciate your insight.
Clip that.
We'll see you soon.
Yeah.
Can't wait
Thanks,
for the
Joe.
preseason.
Thanks, Joe.
Guys, appreciate you having me on. And McNuggets, if you send me an address, I'll send you some Hall of Fame beef sticks and jerky.
Gotta have it.
Love it.
Gotta have
Thanks,
it.
Joe.
Pride, Joe, I promise. I'll make you proud, buddy.
You need a Hall of Fame chicken one day.
I know we were out of time, but I'm glad I asked Joe that question.
Listen, I never heard that story before.
heard
that.
That is mind-rattling.
Kevin
Stefanski,
Stefanski,
we'll
Kevin
post that.
Stefanski, he gets credit.
That's a good job out of
Give him another
Stefanski.
coach in the
Hey,
end for that.
hey, Stefanski, you got a couple cool points with me. Hey, dog, don't.
All right.
Well, I saw the Browns put out a clip of like all the jersey things and everything.
Yeah.
They said,
Mason Graham wanted Poach's number.
well, they said Kevin gets final say on these numbers.
Right.
Give me your first choice. Maybe that's why. It's for
Yeah, you
non-football.
can't be
asking-
someone from themselves.
Yeah.
You can't be. You put the player in a bad spot when you ask the
Absolutely.
franchise icon for his
It's
number.
an incredibly
That's ridiculous.
out of touch
I know
question.
we're out of time. I know.
We have the most super chats.
Can we just go past 1 o'clock today, Mike?
No, we have to stop at 1 because we're in trouble for going past. So I got to get
right.
the super chats.
Trouble.
I apologize for cutting off because that was a
Yeah,
fantastic
yeah.
story, but
Yeah.
I got to get these in or we get in trouble.
Watching, huh?
Jim L says we passed on 2 Hall of Famers in the draft, Hunter and Carter. Charles T said, I give them an A. Doubling up on quarterback, running back was smart, especially when Sanders dropped. Looking at next year's class, there's nothing special outside of Arch Manning. Peregrine
You don't know
says, the draft felt like a new ride at Cedar Point. Charles T says, if Shedeur hits or
whiplash.
Gabriel/Pickett, you go into next year's draft going wide receiver /skill positions. If you miss, It's only Manning and the SC quarterback in next year's draft. South Carolina
You don't know
quarterback.
that?
Charles T says Sanders was a first-round, second-round quarterback in this draft. Nothing he did was worse than Manziel. Showing up late to his workout, drunk and puking. Arch Manning told teams, don't draft his son. Baker was super cocky.
Archie Manning told him that.
Archie told
Not
him once
Archie.
he
Yes.
that.
Well, he
One
put
time.
Arch. I'm just reading what he said.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
James Mace Jr. said Andrew did not look excited drafting Shedeur, which makes me very excited about drafting Shedeur.
Fair.
Charles T said, guys, what do you think was so bad about Sanders that led him to fall with no off-field issues? Number one in accuracy in this draft. We'll dive into all that stuff.
Drama.
James Mace said Shedeur had to be good for UCSS business, I'm assuming. Yes.
Slightly.
Yes.
A little bit.
EBGB says Haslam drafted Sanders to get Trump to help him close the stadium deal.
That's
make me laugh.
That's the highest level.
Don't make
jest
me laugh.
I've ever heard. That was wild.
Oh my God!
That's really good.
That is.
Yeah, but
really
didn't
good.
Trump demand that he be drafted after the first day?
I swear to goodness, I saw a clip this morning. It's not AI. A reporter asked Trump's press secretary today if the president felt he was responsible for.
Oh, of
his
course he's
tweet
going to
or
take
his
credit for
truth
that.
Takes credit for everything.
leading to him being.
If he deserves credit, he should have been taken with the 33rd pick.
He got Jello ball out of China and turned him into a rap star. I mean,
I'm
they
just
got-
saying that was a funny super chat.
Yeah, that was funny.
Pretty good.
Charles T said, "Why weren't owners more concerned about Cam Ward actually quitting on his team in the second half of a bowl game?"
That's
'cause
silly.
he's good.
That's silly.
Rick Sargent
Because
says,
he's good.
I believe the Browns took Sanders because of Haslam. It felt like there was collusion among NFL owners. That is the only way it
I don't
makes
believe
sense
that.
to take
That's
Gabriel
crazy.
before Sanders.
Can't prove that.
No, I don't believe
Mike
that.
J says, I've lost count how many times I've rewatched Bowles' two-time All-American exchange with Dustin on draft night. Easily one of his funniest moments.
That was funny. That was
Well, I
funny.
missed it. What?
Dustin said he is a two-time All-American. That hardly ever happens. And Bull's like, well, I guess I should shut up now.
Yeah.
Because I had said I didn't know
never
that.
says.
I didn't know that was that uncommon.
He's like,
Oh, it's very.
And he's like, it's very uncommon. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay.
They're all seniors.
I guess
so
I'll
they
shut
don't
up
get a
now.
chance
Yeah,
to be two-time. Most of them are.
Brody's bottom line has two. Newsflash, Shedeur is better than Gabriel. He also says, if Kevin is this great offensive mind, Shedeur can be quarterback one by week 5. Aldo Ortega says, I recommend watching NFL Executive breaks down scenes from draft day with former LA GM Tom Telesco. He provides good insight, says, quote, we spent 2 years on Herbert. Cleveland's definitely looking into the 2026 top quarterbacks and have a short list already of who they want. Brody's bottom line chipped in again, said Brown's quarterback room is better than Pittsburgh's quarterback room.
At the
Charles
moment, it
T
is.
says-
Yeah, that's true.
Charles T says right now, outside of Manning and the SC quarterback, the rest of the 2026 QBs will be one-year wonder upside quarterbacks. Taking 2 this year is smart.
You don't
2
know.
different chances to hit.
By the way, the Browns quarterback room is better than Pittsburgh, probably worse than everybody else's.
But it's not the worst in the division, so you could let stand on that right now. Not the worst QB room.
Not at the moment. No.
Curtis Research says, congrats McNuggets, the Giants won the draft. Browns pick seems solid
stop.
besides Gabriel. We shall see how these prospects pan out in the coming seasons.
Giants suck. They screwed
Low
up
High
the draft.
says,
You don't
we
know
lost my dad.
I don't know shit.
Low High says, we lost my dad, born in 57, the morning. We played the Chiefs in the second round of the playoffs.
Oh.
We got to sit and watch us beat the Steelers. Meant so much to see his
Oof.
face.
man.
Yeah.
TQ says, both rookie quarterbacks will make the 53-man roster.
No shit.
DB Dog
You don't know
21
that.
says, the
true.
clip of Sanders after he got picked, he was asked if he was performing. He said no. Shedeur was in tears. Quote, I just want a ball, man. I just want a ball. I'm telling you, he'll be the starting quarterback at some point this season. Book it. TQ says, next year those 2 first-round picks will not be used on a quarterback. Brody's bottom line
Probably
says,
will.
prayers to Kevin Love and his family. If you guys missed it, Kevin Love's father
Yeah.
passed away.
Oh.
Very unfortunate.
That's
So-
why
Glad
Kevin
someone
had,
brought
Kevin
that
had been
up.
away from the Heat for a while.
And I missed
Yeah.
everything else. There was a 4-home run game by Eugenio
Yes.
Suarez.
Lost in the.
Everything got lost.
They lost, too, by the way. The
They
Diamondbacks
did.
Lost.
Only 3rd team ever to have 4 home runs in a game and lose.
Goldilocks Gaming says, do you guys really believe this was the plan Miles agreed to?
No, of
Mason
course
Graham,
not.
question
No.
mark?
Miles agreed to $40 million in cash.
Miles, yes.
never
Miles
about-
took
He
the
didn't
money,
care to
yes.
any-
He can't pay attention to anything he said about
He
the
knew he wasn't going
quarterback
to
and all
get
that.
traded, so he took the money. What was he supposed
I
to do?
got a bunch more.
Go, 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 go.
William
Go.
Beck says, kids at camp are going to catch Dillon Gabriel for an autograph and ask him to go ask Shedeur to sign it for them. Boss Crow says, Flacco will not be on the roster. Other 3 need reps. He's him, says Sanders dropped because of racism.
Okay.
I'm not going to answer the last one. The last one is even sillier than that. So
Yeah.
that's our record-breaking amount of super chats today,
It's a lot. How many were there? 30?
at least.
See, we could have chit-chatted for another minute, Mike. We still had.
I
we still had
can't,
time.
I can't predict that.
Well,
but
you should
we didn't
predict.
know how long it was going to take you to read them.
Jed Wills asking Joe Thomas for that number is crazy.
Yeah. and-
Mind blowing.
And by the way,
I think Lawrence Taylor did tell him to go
Lawrence
F
Taylor,
himself.
Lawrence Taylor said absolutely not.
As he
Yeah.
should.
Yeah, like.
Well,
and
why
I'm-
wouldn't he wear number 11? Was Phil Simms wear number 11?
11's retired by Phil Simms.
That's what I thought.
And
How is 56 not retired?
It is.
It is.
Okay, so
He
I mean,
asked. He
if
called
you're going
his.
to ask one of the two to unretire
It's
their
Phil
number,
Simms.
why not wear the number you wore in college and just ask Phil Simms, who has
Nah.
his record number retired
Pick a
because
new
he had
number,
one
bro.
great
Yeah,
game?
yeah,
Just
you
find a
gotta
new number.
You-
Yeah.
Listen, you didn't kill it that much in
But
college.
you can't ask Lawrence Taylor.
That's
insane.
insane.
That'd be like someone coming to the Browns. Is Judkins going to ask the Jim Brown estate, any chance I wear 32?
Well, did
Yeah.
you hear
That's
Taylor's
absurd.
Did you hear Taylor's answer?
I think-
Make up your own legacy.
He said, they talked on the phone. He's like, nothing against Abdul. I said, no, I want you to pick your own number, make your own legacy.
That's the,
And
but that's
I love that answer.
well played.
And by the way,
Because Lawrence Taylor isn't known for well playing things like that.
Not necessarily,
The
no.
only worst thing he could have actually done is if he played for the Philadelphia Eagles. It was like, hey, let me get that 92. You just gonna call Reggie White?
Yeah.
Right.
Let me holler at you about
Did you
that
guys
92.
see
Hey,
the
real quick,
clip?
we're talking Guardians in
Oh, yeah,
overtime.
we're
It
out
will
of
be
time.
public. It will be public. If
Okay,
you want
good,
We'll be
good.
live back in
Okay.
3
So we're
minutes.
dipping down and coming right back
We'll
up.
shut down. We're coming back in 3 minutes.
All right,
Talking
we'll see you in 3
Guardians.
minutes.
Thank y'all for tuning in
Yeah.
today.
Anthony,
We
great
appreciate it.
job
See you
directing
guys
today.
on UC.
Great job.
Ryan Rocchio asked for 42.